else behind. Psycho, it's the weird science DC comics absolute DC show. It's the weird science DC, it's the weird mix absolute DC show. So let's go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Absolute Show. I had a problem at the beginning. I always have problems. It's this damn thing. Because I ended up starting it. It never asked me if I wanted to start the stream. And so I'm looking, and then I kept trying to see if it was going, but it seems like it's going. There we go. But I think some of the theme got cut off. But somebody can verify that, that we're live in the deal. But I'm here, not with Gray. Gray is off doing Wing Chun or something like that. He actually got mad because I ended up saying that he was off doing karate, and he actually said that indeed he is working. He has a work weekend in Japan. Edward said that we are live, and with me is Zach. And how are you doing, Zach?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, Zach is here in replacement of Gray. I think Gray was running scared because this Martian Manhunter book.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
he knew Simon was going to come after him.
He doesn't want to get yelled at by Simon, who's definitely going to yell at me. Because
I know he's going to yell at me.
Yeah, we're going to. You actually said that you kind of like it a little better than the first issue.
I like it, but not a lot.
Yeah,
not a lot.
Here's the thing. It explains a little about what's going on and nothing else. It ends up being a book where it's all pomp and circumstance. To me, it is all just smoke and mirrors, and we'll see. We'll talk about it. That's a little spoiler. We'll go into a little more detail with it, but in the meantime, I actually said in the Slack right before we came out and did this that I loathe talking about the book, and it's mainly because if it's a no-win. I'm telling you right now, this Martian Manhunter is going to get me so riled up. The idea that because people end up, if there's a book, and there's a lot of books like this happened a lot with Tom King books very early. Now it kind of evens out. But when you end up reading something and you're like, man, I don't really like this. And then you see people don't just like it. They love it. They love it so much to the point where we're putting up your dukes. I'm about to fight people about it. And that ends up making me angry about, why are you angry at me? Because I don't like it. And this is where a lot of times people will say, oh, yeah, why don't you just drop it? Why do you even, and I'm telling you I would, but just like what happened in the Ultimate universe. Yeah, and even then in the Ultimate, on the Marvel Ultimate stuff is where once I stopped reading Ultimates, which again, lo and behold, Dennis Camp, then I didn't read Black Panther, then I dropped this, and it all falls apart. Yeah, to me, if you do something like this, you have to do the whole damn thing. You have to review every one, and
all or nothing.
Yeah, and I do believe that we're just going to piss people off, but I understand it's a no-win situation. But we also are going to be talking about Absolute Wonder Woman. In the meantime, if you hear banging, clanging, and drilling, it's because my son is doing repairs on the house. Not even repairs, he's redoing the house pretty much from the ground floor up, and I've been having some problems. Me and Gray actually did record this morning. We were recording our Yosagi Yojimbo podcast, and at the end, I lost it. I ended up so angry. Gray had to calm me down. I was like, I'm going to kill somebody. It was like the worst because they come and do this stuff, never ask if I'm recording. One time, I think it was last week, maybe it was this week, earlier this week, I'm in the middle of recording and they just cut the power. And I was just like, right, yeah, that's lovely.
That's not good.
That is lovely. And I was just like, what happened? Like everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happened. I was so upset. But here we are. It's Absolute DC time. And we are going to start with Absolute Martian Manhunter. It's Absolute Martian Manhunter number 2. And if you heard me and Gray talk about the first issue, we pretty much said we had no idea what was going on. And while Simon and a bunch of people said that we were morons for not knowing what was going on, first off, I was just being honest, but also I don't think you're supposed to know exactly what is going on. This issue ends up giving you a little bit more of an idea of maybe what's happening in John's head. But in the meantime, it just plays out that it looks like there is an alien type of invasion, body snatcher deal. Some people are going to be able to see it. Some people are being controlled to think it's happening. All this stuff while you end up having John kind of walk around town. And that's where I think the idea of, if somebody says this is like the greatest thing they ever read, I mean, I'll start writing books about people walking around town and yelling at babies, and maybe I'll be a millionaire. Maybe. But it is written by Deniz Camp, art by Javier Rodriguez, letters by Hossein Otsmain El Hal. I'm telling you, even the credits are driving me insane. These things are so
when I read
small.
them, they were so
and that's
horrible.
the thing. I don't know which is smaller, the credits or the plot progression of this book. I'm getting mad. I had to end up going and using the magnifying glass to even see these credits. What are they, embarrassed that they wrote this garbage? But here we go. It's not garbage, but maybe it is. But you end up where all this going on, there seems to be a shooter going around town who is kind of a conspiracy theory guy. And when you end up playing the idea that this guy must be nuts, well, obviously he must not be, because John's our main character, has an alien in his head who's doing things. So he thinks that around town, around the world, there are these people who are in-planet white Martians. It seems that's the connection to regular Martian Manhunter stuff. But in the meantime, you do have John walking around, still looking exactly like Constantine, which I still think it should have been. And he's just kind of, arguing with the entity in his head who says he's not necessarily Martian. I know I actually saw some people who just, right when that was said and done, they're like, I'm done. I'm out. I guess they need that. But he ends up saying that's what's easy to kind of make fit. And I think that a lot of this issue does have to, and a lot of what's going on in this book does have to do with the idea of almost like seeing an optical illusion. And some of those illusions that you end up seeing, that your brain will fill in the blanks. Your brain tries to make things work. And I think there's a bit of that going on with John Johnsey. His brain is trying to assimilate with this, trying to get some sort of bearings of what's going on. In the meantime, you end up where this entity keeps saying, hey, whatever happens in your mind, it happens in real life, not with the idea, I think, of a power where you have some of those things. Like I do my chalk drawings and they come to life, not like that, but the idea you're not seeing things. These things are real. These things are happening. But in the meantime, I just, I don't get it. And some of the people, and Lane said he's liking it so far because it's something different. XS said sup, Jim, sup. And everybody's saying hello. Even Fear Monarch said hello to you. And you said, what's up? But the idea of this is, it's a new universe. It's the absolute universe. So you're already wondering what's happening. And in my mind, what Deniz Camp is doing is adding 5 other layers of confusion on top of let's just see what's different. All of it's going to be different. You're going to have some things that are a little the same, some things that are a little askew. But in my mind, when you go into this, like this is as if we had the Superman book that people had a lot of problems with, right? To me, It would be like that Superman book going 8 issues and you didn't even know you were on Krypton. Like you're in some jungle the whole time. I get it. Now I get it. We were in Krypton. People were losing their minds about that. And yet here we are. And I do think, I know it's not here nor there, but if you change the art, if you get, it all falls apart. And that's what gets me. I'm not an art guy. And I still think this issue, while being a little bit better, it just is a gimmick. It's a gimmick with let's be confused, but see this great art that's very surreal and play the surreal deal of the deal. Because even Simon, when me and him did talk about it, the idea that you do set up some things when you had that bomber ended up looking like a classic Martian Manhunter villain, but nobody would have known that because Martian Manhunter doesn't. If you sat there and said, what is Martian Manhunter's rogues gallery? You'd say white Martians. That's about what you would say. But the idea in this, You do have like an invasion. You have all these things. But when you get to it, he is just, he grabs a paper. He thinks a little. He walks in front of, the traffic. Oh, my God. He gets yelled at. The Manhunter thing is like arguing with him. Hey, I'm real. You got to, come to grips with this. We got to get this trigger. We got to get this guy who's going to do a shooting. And that's where the one interesting thing would be is he's a detective, but it does seem like this Martian entity deal will be able to kind of almost put him on a radar of things that are a problem and even anomalies in their brain, it seems. But I'm telling you, I'm saying this. I hear myself talking. I don't even think I'm making sense. It's driving me nuts. But we end up seeing this guy going, and this guy really has this conspiracy, this body snatcher deal. It's in plain sight. You even have a Independence Day quote when we get to it. But what did you think? Because I'm telling you, I just end up reading this. I'm like, by the end, I'm like, okay, he's still confused about what's going on, and he talked to a guy because he didn't want him dead, and he sees people's thoughts. I'm telling you, I don't have much to say about it. I feel bad, but how about you?
Yeah, so I think this is an improvement from the first issue, because the first issue just, like you said, we're in a different world, in a different setting, everything's new, and then you're just adding all this like esoteric, acid trippy stuff on top of it, where it's like, oh, the thoughts are smoke clouds and he's breathing them in, and you're just going really out there and weird with it. This issue, we kind of get a little bit more focused. It's just John being like, okay, I keep seeing this Martian figure in my mind, and he's trying to establish a connection with me, and it's just, we're seeing the struggle back and forth between them. And in the background, like I said, we do see this guy who apparently he thinks he sees aliens too, and decides to shoot up a bunch of people. I think this is a little bit better, but there is still a lot of, like, what's the word I want to use? I don't want to say bull crap, because that's me. It's bull crap.
There's still a lot of, it's like window dress. Like I said, it's
window
kind of
dressing.
A gimmick of it. Now, when you do, he ends up in what I do think that Deniz Camp wants to tell us is basically everybody's a piece of shit too, because when he does end up, coming in, and this is the thing of, okay, now we're going to see his powers. We see, like Martian Manhunter, again, it's not anything that, going to blow your mind, but he can read minds. But it ends up in this smoky type deal. You hear them talking. Half of the people are like, I'm going to slice this person up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But there's the Martian vision, ultimate outsider perspective. And I don't know. I guess it's one of those. And Jason, this week, Sue 42 to you and me, we were talking Metamorpho on our Patreon Spotlight, which is exclusive to the Patreon. It was one of the books that we talked about. And again, there's a book that in my mind, again, has the same thing. I think that this is one of those books that it either clicks with you or it doesn't. And it's very easy to realize, okay, this isn't for me, or okay, this is for me. I hope that I would get to a point where I'm like, okay, here you go. But I don't know, because I don't like the pacing of it. I don't really care. I don't care for the art. People are wowed by this art. I'm like, I'm not. I don't like
I like
that sort
it,
of crazy acid trippy deal. I would guess with me and you, but me especially, like Deniz Camp is obviously high as shit when he's writing this, and I'm not.
He's definitely smoking.
What it ends up doing, I said this before, I was in a band in college. Everybody else in the band did a lot of drugs, a lot of pot, and more. So what would happen is we would practice and we'd write some songs and things like that. Well, while that was going on, everybody's, token up except me. And then the next thing you know, it's like everybody thinks they're the greatest ideas they've ever had in their life. Like, oh man, we should write a song about how aliens end up being in our minds and they're actually vegetables and become broccoli. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Like, I was actually the editor in this situation. I'm like saying, like, stop, guys. Stop it. This is nonsense. And no, man. And then the worst is the next guy. Everybody in the band's like, man, that's really cool. I'm like, it's not cool. Shut your mouth. I would get so pissed off. So I do think that, again, it's not that you have to be high to read this, but I'm saying I think that you could realize if it's for you or not. But in the meantime, I'll still try to get through it, because you end up where he is struggling to figure out what is real, what is going on, and he's feeling, even at one point, despair, fear, paranoia, and he's even seeing some things that everything is violence. Like you have, a hooded guy with a torch. You have this. So it's the way that it goes is, that, in my mind, is this idea of it's being surreal and very trippy with the art. But then Deniz Camp comes in and he has to really try to nail these things in, and I just, it's not for me. It just ends
No.
up where I'm like, okay. Then he yells at a baby. I'm like, now we're talking. Now, if he booted that baby into one of these signs, I'd be great. And then even when you go by like Madame Xanadu and stuff like that, I was like, oh my God, like I want to see more of that. I'd rather see that than this guy. But yeah, so he ends up smoking a little more. Then he gets in his car and he's off, and he mentions that the Martian there, he puts his feet up on the dash. I'm like, all right, whatever. But it is the idea, hey, we got to get across town. We got to get to this, I think it is a Syrian neighborhood. We have to get where this guy is going to start shooting. Now, Gabe in his review kind of pointed towards the idea of this might have been a political statement or something like that. If it is, I didn't get it that much. I just think it was just a neighborhood that he's in, but whatever. But this guy seems to think, oh my God. And the funny thing is that he's like, the Martians are here. They're here. They're pretending. They're doing this. At the same time, when this entity is trying to make John do exactly what this guy is saying other people are doing, but it does feel like there are white Martians that have invaded the world, and you're going to end up having John and this entity if they do become one, if they do separate throughout, whatever. But you got to get to a point at least where he's like, okay, I get what's going on. I see what this is, and let's move on. But in the chat, even Lane was talking at one point and asked me, what do you think? He says, I get you may not like it, though. I do question, though, do you think this series has any hope of working, being extended from 6 issues to 12? Now, this is what I said before. I don't know if I said it on this podcast, but I've said it on somewhere. The idea of this book feels like it's supposed to be a mind bender for 6 issues. It's going to be a mind bender, and then all of a sudden at the 6th issue, we'll be like, Eureka, I get it. And then extending it, I have a big fear that he doesn't have anything after that. And I said, when I did talk about it before, the way that I was kind of explaining it is when you get a band, again, I'll go back to bands, where you end up doing a first album. And this could be any sort of music, rap, it could be rock, whatever. But you have that first album. Well, you're coming up you've been working on those songs for 5 years. Like most bands have been doing their thing for 5-6 years. They get signed. They have 40 songs. Okay, we have these songs. Boom, you have a great first album. Now they have to do something on a time frame where you have to come up with another album fresh now. And some bands can't do it. Some bands, there's where you get, one-hit wonders, things like that. The ones that are great can do it, but some can't. And I'm worried that that's what's going to happen, that he's putting all of this stuff into this wacky entry story that when you get to the 6 to 12 or the 7 to 12, you're going to have to progress a story then. By that point, you can't just say, okay, well, let's screw with them some more. Let's go wacky.
Yeah.
And What's
So
that?
I was going to say, look what happened with Green Arrow with Joshua Williamson. It was originally supposed to be a limited series, and then they stretched it out. And what did he do? He repeated the same first arc for the second arc. It's just like sometimes these stories are finite. You need to let them be finite. I get it sold well, but then just create a sequel series later down the road. Me
again on the spotlight when me and Jason were talking about Metamorpho, a book that I don't really like. He likes a lot, but we even both kind of agreed by the end. It's kind of a book because it's so wacky. Kind of just is good to be a mini and go away. And if you do end up next year, have a sequel, whatnot. But in this too, when you do have the stuff going, Fear Monarch said it happened to Hootie and the Blowfish, and it did. But also, Doom Mega, Jerome's here. Hey, and he said, Rodriguez did this page with the Gunman, the visuals too. It was top notch. And that Wonder Woman artist is incredible. And it's true. And again, the art isn't my style that I like. I like a more detailed style. I'm not real into the surreal deal, but that's fine. But it's just, I know. And here's the thing. I know I'm going to get yelled at by Simon. He's grinding his teeth now. He's yelling in that damn accent of his, yelling. Now he won't send me recipes anymore. I'll be so pissed off. But again, even there's funny
I don't think
too.
you're missing out on much.
Now some of them are good. You didn't like the curry, but the idea of all this stuff going down, a lot of people... Yeah, a lot of people do get annoyed when you have a friend who just gets so high and everything they say, they're like, oh man, I got to write this down. Like, I'm going to break the world. Eric one time told me he got so high and he still to this day thinks they invented time travel. I'm like, no, you passed out is what you did. But Matt Fisher says, I see London, I see France. Resurrection Man lost his pants.
Oh,
and then said Sullivan Grundy wants pants too. He does. He does want
Yeah.
the pants. So does Metamorpho. Actually, in that book, sometimes Metamorpho doesn't have pants. But yeah, so it keeps going, and the idea is going to go over to this neighborhood, and he's going to stop the shooting. Well, when they get there, this is where you finally see more of the powers in play. He goes over, and he does end up being able to see, first off, the last thoughts of these dead people, and it's kind of heartbreaking. That part is done
Yeah.
very well. He
Yes.
uses the idea of this mind reading in a really cool way, and it's heartbreaking. The idea of hearing and seeing, because it's a visual thing for him as well, the thoughts, final thoughts of these dead people. Now, in the meantime, remember here, you also see that the Manhunter entity kind of splits and goes into the shooter's head. Well, it kind of seems to say, but he still is able to read minds as well. So that kind of does that double duty, and it goes in to see what's going on in the shooter's head. And when you find out, it's like this weird, trippy, kind of like virus, he kind of says. But in the meantime, you end up where John reads the mind of this guy, and this guy's going to shoot him. He just walks in. He's like, hey, buddy, like, what's going on? He's like, who the hell are you? What do you think? And he's like, oh, and legitimately, what John is doing is exactly what this guy thinks he's against. I mean, he is seemingly, and you didn't see anybody in these dead people dying say, oh, shit, back to Mars I go. Right? You didn't see anybody like, oh, my God, they found me out, and now the jig is up, and now they know the Martians. These people seem to be completely innocent. Seems like none of them were Martians. But in the meantime, he actually has a gun on a guy who is kind of what he's against. He has this entity in him, and he's able to read the minds because he said they all pretend. They talk funny. And now here's the other play when you get the layers. When he says they talk funny, I'm thinking he just means the Syrian accent that they have. That's why he goes to this neighborhood, and that's awful. Like this guy, but by the end, you kind of see that this guy is kind of being duped as well, but also has, schizophrenia. But some of the dialogue or some of the narration, when it's like, his madness is a man-shaped wildfire. In the smoke of it, I smell strains of trans-3-methyl-2-Z hexoxonic acid. I'm like, get the hell out of here. And a family history of schizophrenia. Okay. Like, all right. Like that. But again, these are moments, and I think, again, I just think this book doesn't work for me. I think it's more of the idea of a feel. It's more of like, instead of a full-out plot, it's more of a let's kind of, glide through here on our yellow submarine and get these things and kind of get this feel and get this little moment and go. And at the end, you kind of sit back and think about it. But some of the things, even when he looks into this guy's mind, the art is great. I mean, I don't even like the art style, but there it's great. And he ends up being able to pick a name out. I didn't know what he was doing. I thought he was just he couldn't control it, and he was just seeing these things, and maybe the guy was thinking of it, but it's not. He ends up having this idea where he sees this name, a kid that used to know this guy, and he pretends it's him, because he's like, do I know you? And he's like, and he's like, oh, it's me. It's Clyde Toomis. Don't you remember me? We're blood brothers. And all this guy keeps saying is he's pretending he's doing what the thing was. So, in fact, this guy probably is onto something, but he just is a little bit misguided the way it went. But right there is John, and he's seeing, memories and things like that as it went. But this guy is having problems. He's having problems. He sees things, and then other people are hiding on the side, and you keep going, hey, this guy's thinking of this. As a teenager, hiding behind the Honda, thinking about an old cartoon. I'm like, all right, let's move on. I'd rather get some more progression. I get the scene. And then you end up where the Martian entity in the shooter's head's like, aha, I found it. And you end up having a deal that, inside Trigger's mind, the Martian has found something. Level 18 delusion, hallucination, brain rotter, invasion coded classic, us versus them architecture. I'm like, okay. All right. Like, if this is what it's going to be, all the power to you. And I can't pish posh on people who like it, because I like a book over at Marvel, Ultimate X-Men, and the ultimate thing that some people cannot stand. And I like it. And it's almost the same thing. Some people can't stand the art. I like the art. Some people say, oh, it's not what, the whole thing of the X-Men is, but I like that it's something different. It's almost the same thing. It's like they ended up, well, we have that messed up book over there. Let's get this messed up book here. So it kind of plays in, but I do like the one that's more of a manga one than this. This is a mind bender. It's a enigma. and a puzzle that I don't care to solve is what I really kind of end up thinking by the end. It's something that I really don't care to solve the way it is. But yeah, you end up where it kind of goes where the guy gets shot through the head. The guy kind of comes out of it a bit because of all the things he's thinking, but then gets shot by the police. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, it's such a shame. I mean, this guy just killed like 10 people, like whatever.
Yeah.
It's, he's down. I do like, as the one guy went, he did end up saying a prayer. It looked like in Syrian. And it said he remembered to say the last thing. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And some of them are just, thinking about it. They were kids. Their life's flashing.
Yeah.
That deal. But yeah, he ends up where all that happens. And again, it's very visual of all of his memories, including watching Jaws, I think. I don't know, but goes out the back of his brain. He did like hunting with his dad, he said, and goes down. And then the police are like, man, you should have shot him when you had a chance. You were talking to him. I'm like, all right, maybe, maybe you should. He was kind of calming the guy down. You kind of go, but again, it may point out the idea that this world is darker. This world is like a lot of people killing and wanting to do crazy things, but you end up where they go back then, and he's even reliving some of the memories and things and sees the white Martian. That's where the Martian sees the white Martian. Oh no. This is the big thing. So they end up where they go home, and he goes to bed, and his wife says, how was work? He said, good, the usual. And then he's there, and I'm like, is John's in the closet now peeking out? Are we going to get some sexy things? It's just visual. But you have that there of them kind of coming together as one. Again, though, one of the other things that I keep thinking, and people who like this book would probably say to me, it doesn't matter if this happens, but I've read all the other books, right? We've been reading the absolute books. I've been reviewing them, and I don't see this ever going into the other books. It's so wacky that how is this going to end up enveloping into Superman? How would it make sense? I guess you can play that, but the idea of this is so crazy that right now I'm like, yeah, this is going to take a lot of effort if you're going to get this combined, and I kind of want to see all the ones combined. You are legit, if you look, you're forming the Justice League. You're forming a classic Justice League with Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern, Flash, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman. That's what they've done. And so you would think that eventually they'll come together, the big event and things like that. But again, I think people who like this probably would say, just like I say with Ultimate X-Men, I kind of don't want it to get involved. I like it as it is. I like it being cool right here by its own and being wacky and being different. And you aren't going to get anything like this anywhere else. But that isn't, to me, always a positive selling point. That's like me making a shit sandwich and saying, well, you can't buy that anywhere. No restaurant's making these. And I'm like, yeah, there's a reason. But yeah, and Keith Cambra said they're missing Aquaman. I actually was going to make a video last week. And unfortunately, there was a lot of drilling going on, but I was going to ask people what books they wanted next, the next round, if they have a next round, and Aquaman definitely be one. The two that I really think would be, and I would go with two of the bigger, and they're not big, but bigger characters. Aquaman's big, but then a side one, but I think Aquaman and Green Arrow would be the ones that I would go with right away. And then I was thinking, like, would you want like a Swamp Thing? Because that'd be wacky too. Or maybe an Animal Man, I think would be cool, and maybe deal with some things like that. Or, just go, I don't know. You can't really go like, say, Nightwing and things unless you're really going to change. You want to wait for that. But some of the other characters, you could have a lot. And in the Flash book, you already mentioned pretty much Firestorm. And then Heatwave as well, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, Fearmarnik said, why didn't they just have Jeremy Adams on Absolute Aquaman instead? And he said that it's some people are guessing that it is it's going to be a combo. That will be he'll be not just a guy of two worlds, he'll be a guy of two universes or whatever. But
oh my,
yeah, that'd be pretty crazy. But I don't know. With all this, and again, it ends up making me feel like, and it's like, how can you combine with a baby kicker? Yeah, very carefully is how you combine.
Well, he already yelled at a baby. Well, I mean, kicking ain't that much farther
along. Well, right away, though, Batman's like, you only yelled at the baby? Like, what are you doing? Like, really? Like, you went
you need
out.
To toughen up,
He's
man.
like, this is who I call a quitter. This guy's not kicking babies. He's not doing it. But yeah, so the whole play of all this is just, I realize that a lot of people like the book. all the power. It's just not for me. But
Oh, yeah.
I end up, I guess we're going to be, I don't want to drop it. And some people have said, no, I'll say right now, Simon bitching and moaning at me, and I know he's going to want to strangle me. And if he does, I have asked him, but he can't come on the show. It's at a weird time for him on a Friday night. But if I'm throwing it down to him, if he wants to come on now, if he wants to do it on his own, then I'm really happy. But if he wants to come on, I would love it. I would love to actually talk to him about it so that I can see where he's coming from, and maybe it can end up, enlightening me a bit. But this is that book too, and this is why I get triggered by it, because it's one of those books that when you do talk to people, and Simon's a nice guy. Me and Simon get along, and I love Simon. The idea though is when you don't get a book like this, people automatically think, "Oh, look at you, you dummy." I'm like, whatever. I guess I am a dummy. If liking this book is bad, then I don't know. Then I don't want to be right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Whatever it is. I don't want to be good. I don't want to be whatever.
If you have to be smart to write this book, let me be a dummy. Because I don't really like it. I think this issue was a little better. Once you start talking about it and you see and you get, okay, white Martians. And
Okay.
he walked around town, right? He saw the sights. We kind of went to the one street. And then he talked to a guy, pretended he was his friend. The guy got shot, and he went home to bed. The end. There's not much of a progression of story. It's more of, and again, in a universe that you don't know what the world's all about, I still don't quite get. And again, when I say I don't understand I don't even understand why this book exists. But with that whole play, I just want to know what the overall story is and what is going on and going forward, because it just seems like it's, hey, let's mind bend. Let's be Chris Angel and mind freak everybody, and I don't need that. But what would you give it?
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit more positive than you. I'm going to go 6.5 out of 10. I think this is a little bit of a step up from the first issue. Like I said earlier, the first issue was just so weird and out there, and you're trying to get used to these characters, and it just throws a lot at you at once. Here we do get a tiny modicum of, kind of focusing in on what the actual story is going to be.
Yeah, you get a little character work, and you kind of figure out a couple things, right? I mean,
yeah, a little. But but overall, to me, the biggest thing that I like about this book is the artwork. I know you're not a big fan of this style. I think this style works for this kind of book, but I do think that, this book could definitely be a lot more straightforward if it didn't have all this extra over the top, esoteric, ethereal, surreal, whatever you want to call it, the bullshit. I think it'd be a lot better, but 6.5.
I'm a 6.
All right.
There's just like things in it where I'm like, okay, I see, but like you're wasting time on some things, and then at the end, I just feel like, all right, I didn't get anything. I got a little bit. Like it feels like you get 3 pages of story, and it just whatever. I guess there and. The weird thing is I prefer that we have no time frame anyway. They're already starting to talk of things like, Booster and everything kind of tying together for a big deal. But you end up where I don't know. I need something more. And Brandon said I should be lower than a 6. I just end up, I don't have any real feeling for it. I end up like, okay, it's okay. Fuck it. I shouldn't curse.
Okay.
Like that. Holy moly, I'm going.
I was gonna say, are you gonna queue up Sammy Hagar?
And no, I see, like that one panel, I like the art, and then I'm looking at it, and I'm confused, and it just ends up. It is. I mean, actually, I could just give it a straight up. I should give it an F. Screw it. What was your score again? There, because
mine was a 6.5.
Yeah, I think Brandon, I'm actually going to have to, like, for the first time, agree and say that I think I did. I was just trying to get out. I had the white flag up. I was like, just let me out, and Simon, don't yell at me or something like that. But we did come up with the FU5 as a score of, it's kind of the sneak in a bad score, but whatever. But I feel empty trying to figure out what this is and whatnot. So, yeah. Thank you.
Oh my goodness,
Sammy. Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you, Brandon. He's the one who convinced you.
Yeah, I know. I have to admit, I think it beat me up, and then I was just like, I got to get out of this. I'm like, get me out of here. But Calgon, take me away. But yeah, and people are still talking about the different Absolute books or whatever. And yeah, so there you go, Simon. Simon will be
I will
mad
say,
at
I
me.
still think this is the worst one out of all the Absolute books. I saw in Slack chat people being like, "This is the best Absolute book." I'm like, "You're high. You're as
Yeah.
high as Deniz Camp."
I mean, this is the thing, and I always do this, and it doesn't help or do anything because again, it's in the Slack and we're talking, but people are going, "Hey, it's great, I love it," and here are my exact words. I effing hated Martian Manhunter more than anything in my whole life. And then I put, he walks around town and talks to a guy. I can't express how much I hate the book and hate having to talk about it. But then once we started talking about it, I'll tell you, you even just talking out loud, it did kind of bring something out, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Matt Fisher as a super chat says, "Absolute Animal Man." I would like that. Doom Patrol. I think that's what he means by DP, but he might mean something else in Swamp Thing. Doom Patrol would be crazy. Again, I think every time you're going to get a crazy book now, they're going to use this as a blueprint. It's going to drive me insane. But we'll go to the next book. And again, if people like the Martian Manhunter and don't like Wonder Woman, now they're really going to get mad at me because I really like Wonder Woman. But it's Absolute Wonder Woman, number 7. Here we go. At least these credits are huge. It's a huge page.
Yeah,
It's written by Kelly Thompson, Mattia Iulis.
Iulis?
On art, yeah, I've heard it pronounced like 80 wrong ways. So Becca Carey on letters. The big talk has been, and people have been talking about the idea that Hayden Sherman not being on these 2 issues, it's going to be a shame when he comes back. And my man Trevitt actually pointed something out, and I do agree with him. Hayden Sherman's covers are pretty good. Like they end up where when you see them, and Trevitt said it's like it's mind blowing to him why he can't do that sort of art because the art gets wonky when he does a whole issue. But boy, this art looks great. Like this
oh my
guy,
God, it looks great.
I hope that they come back. I hope that
I want them doing something.
Yeah, because boy, the book looks great, and it does fit this big epic story, but I think everything with this Wonder Woman book should kind of be this epic story. And I want them to stay. I want this art to stay. But what you do is go back and forth, and you see Diana going back to Hades and going back to hell and actually battling in Hades because we saw before it had kidnapped Circe, her mother. And you get a lot of stuff in this. Again, if somebody's going to yell about, oh, that Martian Manhunter, but in this, you do end up, we're a little along the way, but what you do is you find out little nuggets where Kelly Thompson even subtly tells the story. And we find out a big thing is that indeed Zeus has gone after the Amazons. He's the one responsible. You have that kind of dropped. And in the meantime, there's a lot of gods and goddesses who are really pissed off about it. And that's why Wonder Woman is getting help by a lot of people. Again, that is so Wonder Woman-esque and also is so great because Wonder Woman has kind of convinced everybody that she's just great because she is. I mean, we've talked about it all along. When she was in hell, she made hell a better place. And that's something that is recognized by Hades, who says to Circe at one point, if she leaves, you're back on that rock. It's nothing anymore. Without her there, you're done. And there's even a
it's
part.
Hell again.
Yeah, it's hell. And it's awful. And even at a part where Diana says, and Circe even, the idea, they left me to die because they thought you were bullcrap, but you taught me so much, and they became a family, and it's just so good. And when you get that stuff, and it's great to see a younger Wonder Woman again going back and forth with that. But in the meantime, what you do see is that the gods and Circe and even Hecate, they have gotten this ready. This was a plan by them to get to this point to screw with Hades, to end up kind of bringing them down a bit and start this big attack that they're going to end up doing. Because even with the story that you have Circe tell, and she keeps telling it as Diana keeps getting older and older with the princess and the tiger, the lady and the tiger, it's to train her to get to this point where she needs to do something. In the meantime, we also see that Circe, we already saw Wonder Woman sacrifice her damn arm for Steve Trevor. Yeah. And that was the play where you still like, oh man, how did he get to hell? What's going on? But it is like, how did Diana get out and how could she go back? So you end up where Circe at the one point, she wants to give a sacrifice and says to Hecate, I need you to help me. We need to come up with a plan. We need to save Wonder Woman. We need to save Diana and help her. And Hecate's like, and it's kind of the play where you don't want to reveal the plan So she's like, great haste. I love the idea that you end up where Cersei's like, listen, Diana and I demand an audience with you now. And then Hecate comes there in the fire and is like, speak fast, Cersei. I have only seconds. And she goes, and then she gets interrupted. I'm like, Hecate, stop interrupting. She's trying to tell you and you're making it last longer. Like, I'm telling you, great haste. Okay. But it's the idea that they don't want to reveal the plan. She's like, hey, we're going to need help. We're going to do this. And she says, there will be 2 escapes. The first temporary, and you need not concern yourself with that. The second is more permanent. And ears are everywhere. Cersei, I got to go. So we'll end up, we do find it. But that's where you do have the book. And she ends up where this goes boom in the kiln. And it kind of goes and a book falls and opens. She's like, okay, the Lady and the Tiger, and starts telling Diana the story. And in that, Diana's confused by it, like so confused of, well, what's going on? And this doesn't make sense because the whole play as a princess falls in love with like a commoner, and that's not allowed. So they end up where he gets sent to the arena and he's got to fight. And at the end, he's got to pick 1 or 2 doors. One would be certain death fighting a tiger. The other one would be that he lives, but he'll end up being reunited with a past girl and they'd fall in love. So what is the princess going to do? And is the princess, is she thinking of herself and all this? And through that, Diana thinks that she's the princess. So she thinks the whole lesson is, I'm doing this and I got to make sure, what does this mean? Because I'm the princess. I'm a princess. And then finally, as she gets older, she realizes, and it's kind of a cool moment. I didn't even get it the first time I read it. I was reading it again. And when she's going and she's, they're doing things and gathering stuff. And she just says, oh God, by Hecate, I'm not the princess. And then you see Cersei smile because she is. She's the one who's going to have to make the decision. Basically, this is just that this is going to happen. And you're going to have to trust me that I am doing that for the good of you and me and whatnot. And that's where you have at the end. But the art looks great. Hades is an asshole. And then even at the point where, and I'll give Kelly Thompson credit, but then kind of say with the Persephone stuff, maybe should have explained it a little bit more for some people who don't know the story of her with the pomegranate seeds. I think a lot of people do. And it makes sense by the end. You kind of get it. But I think that she's trying to play, again, she doesn't want you to kind of see that all this is a plan. I think that when Kelly Thompson was writing this, she wants you to think these are random things. Oh, there's, Persephone, hey, here, the pomegranate seeds. Oh, thank you. And then you get the whole deal with the book. But at the end, it all comes together, and they've been working to do this. And really, I think that with that, she is the coolest in this issue because she even puts it where, Hades, her husband, she's like, yeah, you can stop this by just saying these seeds don't mean it, because she wants to skedaddle. If they do that, I thought it was really, really cool. In the meantime, it's a cool fight too, because Wonder Woman is fighting this chimera, kind of looking a bit Cheetah-esque for a little bit there, kind of getting a little wink-wink, but it's not, because we already saw Barbara Minerva in the regular deal. But in the meantime, she doesn't want to kill this chimera. And I think that Kelly Thompson really gets the dialogue and the character where she's fighting. She has to fight it, but she ends up saying, like, don't make me kill this thing. And I even like at one point where Hades is like, I think that I might end up, making it so they can't use magic. And Persephone, like, almost like, I think freaks out. Like, oh no, if he does this, we're screwed. So it's like, so you want to have her beat you with one arm? Like, that would really be not, and he doesn't do it. Then I'm like, oh, and I think she's like,
that's great.
I think she's freaking out. Like, oh my God, if they do this, it's over. But yeah, at the one point, Wonder Woman says, like, listen, I end up where I don't want to kill this thing. It doesn't deserve it. And you're no God if you're making me do this. Let it live. I've defeated it. It's over. And again, it's like Hades wants to make her kill it. Hades is like really wants to hurt her by making her kill this, and maybe even thought she wouldn't do it. But neck is snapped and ends up. And I do like, again, says, if you force me to kill her, Hades, for nothing, for sport, then you are not the God. that I thought you might be, and it will draw a faithful line between us. And I love the idea that Hades is just like, who the hell do you think you're talking to?
Who do you think you
I think it's
are?
like, what the F did you just say? And like Wonder Woman is really talking some crap, and he's getting more and more angry, and then says, rest easy in your next life, sisters of this chimera. And again, that's a really good line of just neck snap, and that's forgive me, and then goes and prays over this dead chimera. This is where I really like this, and I think that if you want to play the idea of what Wonder Woman you may enjoy, if you're out there and you like the Tom King Wonder Woman, right? I don't know who that would be. I don't know if I'm talking to anybody, but there's somebody and they're listening. The idea that in this, Diana is pissed. She starts with magic eyes going, looks very Superman-esque, and says, Hades, you are no god, no lord. You are warden of a prison. Nothing more. And he kind of is. And she even says at one point, like, it's Zeus. Zeus made you do this. It's bullcrap. And he gets so mad. And he says, you dare. And instead of that bullshit and that Tom King, no, thank you, she says, I do. And is going to beat the crap out of this. It's so much different. This is, and again, Tom King makes Diana sometimes violent, but it's violent in a weird way. This is earned. This is her being so angry that he made her kill. And again, you're killing something in hell. How does that even work in the way that it twists around? But she did not want to do it. And he thinks that there's like, you think that I'm just a warden. That's bullcrap. And they get really, really like, going against. And then the thing is, Hades shows his hand because Wonder Woman starts, everything's like, she's using this magic and everything's going. And he's like, oh my God, how did she get so powerful? And it's like, no, I am powerful, and you know why. And I even like that where suddenly, where you had Hades look so big, all with that, and then suddenly even his word bubble is smaller. Like he's so small now compared to Wonder Woman, where you just see her flaming feet. And she says, it's because you're keeping me here and it's unjust. I don't belong here. You're keeping me here and I'm not supposed to be here. That's why I'm so powerful. It's because everybody besides you and that jerk off Zeus are with me. And she kind of pointing out the idea of, I have a lot of gods with me and you guys are going down. I'm going to take you down. And I like that. And I like the idea where you do get all the, like normally in the regular Wonder Woman story, you will get the gifts, Athena gives her that. And with this, and in this, it's the same, but it's different because she shouldn't be in hell. And she says, your reckoning is not today, warden. And I like that she just keeps calling that. And your time will yet come. And in the meantime, I believe we have a game to finish, a question of two doors. And then he kind of gathers his wits and he's like, oh yeah, pick a door. And please, whatever it is, if you die or you leave, at least I could be done with you because I don't want to see your face anymore. Get the hell out of here. And she ends up going, and this is where you have, and that crazy mask is on Cersei because he said she would use magic, but she looks real sad and she's been crying too. I mean, I think that all of this, she knows that Diana's going to leave and she's really upset. So the big play here is she going to accept Diana leaving and what Hades says, never see her again? There's no way I think that she's going to sacrifice Diana, though. Like she's going to open up a deal. Never. So you get that. So she ends up going to the deal. And it's all this is all like pomp and circumstance because they've already had a plan. So she walks out and then she walks back in and says, I'm going to take my mom now. And he's like, what's going on? You can't be here. Like, you can't, that's against, this is impossible. What happened? And she's like, I like that she ends up with Persephone. I swear to God, I'm like, oh, she's throwing her under the bus. She ends up like, well, this crazy thing of yours, but I had one of those diabolical pomegranate seeds your wife gave me, and I ended up so I can come back for a month each year. And he's like, what? And she explains and says, oh, yeah. Oh, I just gave her some food. She was hungry, and I gave it to her. So, yeah, she gets to come back a month every year for a month. And in the meantime, if you want to, put that off the books, you can. I mean, you could say these seeds mean nothing, but you will be giving up a bride and he can't do anything. It's it's such a great play of he can't do anything about it. Or he loses Persephone, which, again, that would make her happy, too. So you end up where she's like, whatever. And I love that he just goes, this is not finished. You've made a great miscalculation and motivated an enemy. And she goes, yeah, so have you. And then he just disappears. He skedaddles. I'm like, oh, what a jerk. What a wimp.
He disappears in a puff of smoke.
Yeah, yeah. And then you end up where you do have Wonder Woman say, I'm indebted to you, goddess. You've restored my mother and me, a debt I can never repay. And she's like, no, we're going to have a battle later. You're going to be able to repay this. We'll talk about that later because we're going to all get together and take down some things. And I thought it was really, really cool. And in my mind, even the way that it's played, it's even more subtle than maybe it could have been, but also it doesn't overdo things. You just end up boom, boom, boom. You have this stuff. And when you get that, again, maybe eventually this Martian Manhunter book will have that moment where the light bulb goes off and I'm like, holy crap, all that came together and I didn't even see it coming. And that's, rare, not because I'm smart or anything. It's because most writers are idiots. But you end up with this. A lot of people don't like Kelly Thompson. This is really good because then they fly back to the Wild Isle. And that's where you end up where she says, this is the greatest thing. I wasn't supposed to be here. Said we were teaching each other. And they also, one of my favorite is, I thought I was teaching you, but you were teaching me. And it ends up being that. And I think that one of the plays here, I think Cersei crying, I think that while she loves Diana, I do think it is one of those plays. And I have 5 kids. And I'll tell you, it's like when my son went into the Marines. You don't really realize until they're going to leave, oh my God, like this sucks. You know what I mean? It like really hits you how much you love them. You love them all the time. But when that happens, it hits you. So while Cersei, in my mind, while Cersei was watching the battle, she wasn't crying because she thought Diana was going to lose or that she was going to die. She was crying because all this was leading to Diana going off, like a kid going off to college. She's going to be able to come back once a month or a month long each year. But still, that's 11 other months that you're not going to see her. She's growing up. She's now grown. She's going to go off. And I think that the idea of that, in the idea of heading off to man's world, I think that this actually feels more powerful than, the classic Diana's like, I want to go, you're not allowed. And she kind of sneaks into the contest and goes whatever, because that always ends up being really mired in the tradition. And you never really get a lot of emotion in my mind. But this, I thought there was a lot of emotion. And you did see that Cersei has been training her to do this moment. It's again, you raise your kids to be able to be independent and go off on their own. But when they go off on your own, you're devastated. But you want them to do that. You made all this, you did all this for you to do that. And then by the end, it's like, oh shit. And and then she says at the end, I mean, the one thing that gets things going says, I'll send you a message once I make, and it is the Heron, it's a temple. So she's going to make a temple in Gateway City. So they have a planned temple. This is probably another piece of the puzzle of getting the gods all together and really getting the Amazons back. And the one thing was, the idea was mentioned, Zeus ended up going after the Amazons. So they were preparing for it a while, and especially once Diana got taken away, and nobody thought that was fair. And even says, by the way, Mom, I fought the Tetracide, and it was that lasso of yours, pretty cool. You ended up doing it, Mom. And then says in Hecate's name, farewell, mother. And she says in Hecate's name, daughter. And you end up at the end. I was actually a little sad, like not sad, whatever, but sad because it did work out some emotions in that. You do get that little Diana deal, but that's really nothing. That's I wish that you had a couple
I like it better than Tom King's little stories.
Really the Trinity stuff. But I wish we had a little more pages of it. But boy, this art's great, and it ends up being such a good book in my mind. And I think I'm talking to a lot of the people are saying, especially in the Slack, that the Martian Manhunter book's the best book of the absolute thing after 2 issues. I'm like, really? Also, Garb Jones said, dude is cooking. Yeah, he's cooking up some freaking LSD or
meth.
Something. Yeah, I was going to say meth, but, it's pot, whatever. Whatever. And here, this is what I'm talking about. In the Slack right now, Matt Razor, Dr. Matt on the Marvel show, he actually responded, I can't imagine in 1,000 years having to talk about that book. And that Martian Manhunter book is a tough one to talk about. But that is it. What would you give this absolute Wonder Woman?
I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed this issue a lot for the reasons that you said, but the artwork is spectacular. I want this artist on this book regularly. But you're right. It's just this really cool story where you get little tidbits of Diana, where it's just like, hey, she has been taught these lessons and she's been training for this exact moment where it's like she can finally escape hell, but she doesn't want to leave her mother behind either. And it's a really nice emotional story. And I really do like the I don't want to say the MacGuffin, but the whole little plot device with Persephone and the pomegranate seeds. I thought that was really clever. I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and what it does is you're following rules, but you're going to twist it so that she can go back and see her mom and go back to hell. If she needs to go to hell, she can go and do it. And again, I think that's going to be big in what would be in this book. The main thing is getting the Amazons back, finding out what happened to them and getting them back. And we're going slowly to that. And now we're going to start a new arc because the change of art was a really good play to do this two-parter in hell. And it worked out the way that was. But boy, I wish the art was staying. But
I know, again, I do too. I really do.
Like I said, I don't want to, bash too much the deal. But I really like Hayden Sherman's art way more in the dark patterns. It fits that book way more than this. Yeah. So this is his art is better, smaller, and this is like a big book. And I'm not saying, I'm saying like the epic, the way the story, like how she's telling the story, and I think this fits more with that.
Absolutely.
But, so I'm gonna go with I'm going like a 9.3. I really liked it.
Oh, really?
I thought it was really good.
My.
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite issues of the whole deal of the Absolute book.
If somebody said this was the best issue of the Absolute universe so far, I could believe it.
Man, I mean, you didn't kick a baby.
I was gonna say that's still
issue
my
was
number
great
one
too. That was really good too. But yeah, I thought that there was a lot of emotions, and it ended up setting up and again, just the idea that we're in 7 issues in, so we're kind of used to the deal. But you are using Circe, who's a typical big bad of Wonder Woman, and in this book, it's her mother pretty much and raised her. And again, Zeus, who did this, it seems, sent Wonder Woman to hell and said, Circe, you take care of her, thinking Circe would not, and thinking Circe would be like, screw this and leave or not pay attention, which she did. Remember at the beginning, she kind of was like, the baby, whatever, and then just fell in love with Diana. So it's built, and you do see at the end, not that I thought that Circe wouldn't help her, but you see how much she loves her, and I thought that was really, really well done. Like better done than a lot of other books do in a whole run. I got a lot of emotions from it, and I thought it was cool, but not really like forced down your throat. But that is it for the books. I don't even know. I think next week is no Absolute books, possibly, because it is an annuals week. And I don't remember seeing, but if somebody knows,
I'm checking right now. I don't believe so.
Yeah, I remember looking at some books, but to see, because it is like I said, it's a 5th week of books, but I wish there would be. Right?
Well, you do have the free comic book day Absolute, but that's on May 3rd technically.
Yeah,
so
that's
next Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know when we're gonna get that, or if we get.
Yeah,
so we'd already. If I can get it ahead of time, maybe we'd go through that. And I don't even know. That sounds like something that might be. Like, hey, here's a little snippet of this. You get Batman kicking the baby. You get Wonder Woman with the stupid Tetris sign.
I just wanted to be nothing but the heroes on each page yelling or screaming or doing something to a baby. Absolutely Green Lantern smacking a baby.
Yeah, that's what you need. Instead of like a swimsuit edition deal, you end up having like just everybody smacking babies. That Twilight baby.
Everybody hates babies.
And it's just this universe doesn't like the babies, it seems. But that is it for the show. We'll go out, but we're going to stick around and talk a little bit, answer some questions, and talk a little bit about some things. But yeah, Matt Fisher said Absolute Weird Science indeed. So we're going to go off. I'm going to play the outro, and then we'll be back right after that. And I think I thought I had it. I actually thought I had the Gray song that I usually end with, and I do not. So, oh my goodness, this is the deal. This is what ends up messing me up all the time. And I do have sus songs, but I'm not going to do that here. I got to get the Gray song in honor of Gray, who's off doing his... In honor of
Gray. He'll be back next week, I hope, or week after next.
Kung Fu is what he's off doing right now, I think. He got me. Is
he doing Gun Kata?
He did seem like Jim Kata. No, nobody does that, but I think it was Bart. I forget the guy's name. He was upset. He thought that like people would get mad at him, I think, if he was doing the martial arts instead of this. But it's a day where in Japan, it's like a parent's day, but they come in and watch the the teachers teach or something. It's like one of those where they observe
Okay.
the day. It's odd, and it's on a Saturday because when you're in Japan, you're a time traveler. But here is, I'm looking, yeah, I found it. So there you go. A little delay at the end, but we'll get Grace sung and then we'll talk a little bit. But I hear some rumbling going on. I'm expecting drill.
Oh, no.
It's like, yeah, I hear it. I'm going to get so upset. And it's like, it's so late to be doing that in my mind. But here we go. We're going to go out and then we'll be back. Okay, and we're here for the talk. But yeah, I was just looking in the Slack, and I like that Garb is here to yell at me in both places now. Yeah, book of the week. My book of the week is probably Green Lantern, easily over this. I like that, and I did like Superman. So me and I didn't unmute my mic. Hello.
Okay,
everybody.
I was wondering what was going on.
Yeah, I was talking. I said that Garb shows up to yell at me here. And
At the
there,
last, at
and
the
Slack
final
and
minute.
there.
It's
Yeah.
the final countdown.
So
we were
there, and my book of the week is probably Green Lantern. For the books that I've read so far.
I gotta think about mine.
And I did like Superman as well, but I
Alright.
had some issues with it. But I ended up where most of the things, Nort's weird at the end. I don't know if it's like
Yeah,
a
that is
dupe.
weird.
I don't know if it was a dupe or not, but it's crazy. But yeah, Gabe didn't like it as much as me. Me and him talked about it on the podcast, and Superman as well. I don't know. The whole play of I like Superman enough of having like being good, but this is just going to be, he's going to turn bad again by saying, Superman, you jerk, you just don't, you won't accept me.
You don't understand, man.
And again, he ended up where he shot.
You're not even a man.
He shot a clone of himself, and I have no problems with it. And I talked to some people
Okay.
like, he can't do that. I'm like, it's a clone. Plus,
Yeah.
to me, if you say, does a clone have a soul, right? But it's also a clone that legit is a ginger. Even though he's bald, he's got red hair, so he has no soul. It's over.
Oh my.
And
Doesn't
yeah,
mean John Jones has no soul either? An Absolute Wonder Woman?
Maybe. Path Less Taken asked if Absolute Superman is as bad as Wes says. No, it's not. He just can't get it over.
I need to get caught up on that
He
one.
just ends up where he's just upset, and I don't even think he's. We talk each week with all the books, and I don't know if he really reads the whole thing or whatever, but I just think that he's kind of standing on that deal. They drew a line in the sand, like I'm going to be with that Martian Manhunter. I don't even think he read Martian Manhunter this week. We were talking about some things, and but yeah, the thing is, Superman's actually gotten better, and that's where the hope is for all the books. Because Wonder Woman, a lot of people didn't like it at the beginning, and it got better. Batman, I think, is pretty good.
Yeah.
And Garb, I'm telling you, Dennis Camp is a hack. And I hate him. I can't stand his writing. I've never read 2 pages that I thought were even worth 2 cents. And I just can't stand him. I can't stand his writing. I think he just smokes pot and does all the nonsense that he does. And then there's no It's Nuke. Hey, the idea of like I'm just telling you, he needs editorial, and he does brag a lot with the idea that he like these books don't have editorial. But yeah, and that the Garb says that he agrees. But again, that's the thing. I hate what's his name, David Pepose, and Zach's here with me. Me and Zach had to review that stupid Joe Garrison Punisher book. One of the worst things I've ever read. It was so bad. It was so bad. It made no sense. Can I tell him
the one scene that broke me in the first issue where he unplugged one thing and the entire power to the bar went out? It's like, is everything running off that one outlet? Like that's how
it was so
not
bad.
thought through that book is.
And so, but David Pepose, that Space Ghost is awesome. So it's like the idea of the thing is, that's the play though is and Jason Aaron. I know that Wes doesn't like Jason Aaron, but Bug Wars is pretty damn good, and Batman Offworld was great. So everybody has it always seems like everybody has, at least one book in them. Kelly Thompson. People don't. I like Kelly Thompson more than a lot, but that Birds of Prey, man, you do that. That's
awful.
That's garbage. But this Wonder Woman's great, and I think that some people get certain characters. I forget. It might have been Fear Monarch. And TMNT for Jason Aaron's really good as well.
It is.
So he has the deal. Sometimes you just need, to do some book and it just jives with you. There's certain writers though, like say Ram V. Ram V for me works better for Resurrection Man or a New Gods than it did for Batman because he's more of that. It's like the idea of some art. Like this art in Martian Manhunter, people even love it. It's not going to play well if it was in Detective Comics. It works not here. At all. It works here, the way it does. So I do think that there are people. It's when you get the guys like I think Jeremy Adams, who can write a lot of good books. It's not just that one book or one character. He's pretty good with it. But again, his deal, I'm not going to tell you that Jeremy Adams, the key in my mind isn't that he's really great with the characters he's writing. 'Cause some people actually think that Hal is kind of a little off in the Green Lantern book. But it's not, and it's not it's that it's fun. That's all I need. When I read a Jeremy Adams book, I know it's going to be fun and it's going to be really, really good in that way, and then I could let a lot of things pass. And this issue this week, you have, not to spoil things, I guess, but you end up having Dan Garrett, the original Blue Beetle. You have Zuriel, you have Phantom Stranger, you have Norda, so many things going on that it didn't feel like a regular issue to me. It felt like an event. It felt like one of those big event books that you get a lot of people in and a lot of the stuff. And Shaver says Cy Spurrier's bad every time.
I'll give him a little slack with that first Hellblazer series, but the second one I didn't like.
Here's the deal, Shaver. Me and you, we're together. I didn't like anything he's done. I can't stand it. Though, you have other writers that Zach does really like Declan Shelby.
No.
So you end up where...
Stop spreading that lie.
Yeah.
His Alien's okay. That's what I will say. His Terminator's god awful.
Actually, I'll say Fear Monarch. Let me know. Did Cy Spurrier do that 6-gun gorilla? I think it was called that. I think it was. It's one of the.
If he had a 6-gun gorilla in that flash run, I'd be more interested.
It was way back, and I think it was him. And I ended up where I really liked it. And it was when I first started reading, so I didn't, he says it is. I didn't know, I couldn't pick out writers at that point. I would just read.
Right, yeah.
And then afterwards, I'm like, man, I can't stand, I just said it again, I can't stand anything he's written. And then I start, and then somebody's like, oh man, I really like that 6-gun gorilla. I'm like, oh crap, I did like that. Me and Eric read that just to have fun with it. We were reading it at lunch. It was funny, we bought the trade when we went to the store the one time after work, and we kind of did chip in and buy it together for some reason, and we were reading it each at
who kept it in the divorce.
I think it got, it's probably still at work. We had a box of comics at work, and it just kind of sat there and whatnot. But that was pretty good. But yeah, Ram V's good at indie stuff.
He's say Dawn Runner was pretty good.
Yeah, I like that. And Layla Starr was really good. So everybody has
Creature from the Black Lagoon. No, that was not good.
Yeah, I didn't like that either. I can't.
That was also by Waters.
That's the funny thing. Yeah, that's the funny thing too. Is I say everybody has that one book, but some people don't. I don't know what that book would be for Leah Williams.
I
Like
couldn't
that.
tell you.
Me and Simon talked about the Power Girl issue. It's the final issue, and might be one of the worst final issues that I've ever read because
Well, it's all right because she's going on to Gotham City
well,
Sirens.
yeah, well,
The sequel nobody asked for, I don't think.
Power Girl, like any fan of Power Girl, like she almost like duped them into saying, okay, she'll get her back to being Karen Starr, and then made it so ridiculously stupid and ends up being nothing. But yeah, that Six Gun Gorilla probably isn't a dusty locker. Yeah, Ram V was bad. And Joseph Wolf says, my opinion is that Adam wants to make a fun book where a lot of writers are kind of just trying to do a lot more, so it doesn't always work. I think that a lot of them, I'm telling you, I always get the idea that a lot of writers are embarrassed that they're writing comics. I think that when they write comics, they want to write, oh, and then when they go to their dinner parties and they're like, oh, you read comics? Oh, no, mine aren't like those. I don't write like kids' books. Mine are more mind benders. Like, get this, Martian Manhunter, he walks around town and sees smoke, and there's these, I think that it's like that. He's just high. I mean, that's the thing. The guy has to cut back. Told you, like, I'm not even joking. I said this in one of the things recently. He blocked me. I do think it was more for Gabe's reviews as anything else. But the idea that he blocked me, and I did tweet out then, and I said, oh, woe is me. I won't get to see his different terminology for strains of pot. Because at that point, that's what he was doing. Every day he'd come in and say, here's me and my college friends. We did a grading system for pot. This one is, well, that's effed up. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, why are you doing this? I don't need that. But yeah, there's the deal of the graphic novels. But that's what it feels like. I think that a lot of writers, they're like, I'm going to be the next Grant Morrison. I'm going to be the next Alan Moore. And some of them lose track of maybe being this bit of you. Scott Snyder got mad at me because when he did that death metal, I ended up sending him a DM because we'd been talking. I said, yo, like, why are you trying to be Grant Morrison? Just be Scott Snyder. He's pretty good. That Scott Snyder's pretty good. And I thought I was like kind of being like nice. And I think he wrote like, what the hell does that mean? I'm like, whatever.
Okay.
Like, okay.
Right.
And then it was funny.
You want to pretend you're not Grant Morrison right now?
It was funny then when he did that.
And
it was metal or death metal, but whatever it was, he ended up having that Wild Hunt book that he co-wrote with Grant Morrison. It was full of Grant Morrison. I said, I could see what you're doing here. And even like a Chip Zdarsky when he was on Batman, a lot of Grant Morrison stuff when he came out of doing Daredevil that people love, even though people who didn't like the Daredevil point out, well, he's just doing, Born Again, he's doing this, but it was really good. And then he did Batman and just seemed to not have a story. Seemed like he just didn't have a grip on anything. Yeah, All-Star. Yeah, there's you go, All-Star Superman.
I was going to mention that in a second, with Jay Burr saying that Dennis Camp's favorite Superman book is All-Star. If you watch that, 2-minute video, so many writers just say All-Star Superman. It's just like, okay, I get it. I'm not saying it is a great story, obviously. It's a great Superman story, but, that's kind of a cop-out answer, Everybody was going for the big names, and there's only, a handful of people who are, actually giving, real answers.
Yeah,
it was just like,
again,
okay.
I had a problem on the aficionados last week, and I ended up acting like a real prick because I was already mad, and people were like, because it was like, oh, well, what's your favorite Superman story? I'm like, I said I don't really think of some things like I don't sit there every day and this is my favorite whatever. I kind of just go through it. And then Aaron on the show said he does the same thing, but I said at the one point I could just be an asshole and say All-Star. I think I did. You just throw it out there All-Star, whatever, or Red Sun. But yeah, the idea of the other good Superman story, Death of Superman, was good, but
that's what Hayden Sherman said. Death and Return of Superman was his favorite,
and
which I get that at least. I'll give him props.
But you do have Joseph Wolf said not enough people talk about Wade or Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns has some really good Superman stories.
I was saying it in the Slack chat that if you look at all the characters he runs, most of the time, whenever I say who's my favorite run on the character, it's Johns.
And I know that
Flash, Jeff Johns, Green Lantern, Jeff Johns. You can go through and pick them.
Yeah, and then Brandon C says, look at DC Studios. Poor James Gunn is inspired by Tom King.
I really hope.
There's been times where you have, some of the actors and actresses, and they're like, hey, there they are, and they're reading like the Supergirl book, that fucking Superman or whatever. But I remember when what's his name, who Robert Pattinson, when he was doing The Batman or whatever the hell they call it, they had him, and he was reading the Tom King trade. I'm like, please stop, don't do it.
Just the one thing I want to say, Jeff Johns was the DC guy for the movies during like the Snyder era, if that's what you want to call it.
No.
And look what happened. You really think Tom King's gonna come in and do anything? No, it's gonna be just as bad or worse.
People just hate Jeff Johns. I don't even. That's the thing too. Fear Monarch said got to meet Jeff, and he's a nice enough guy. Again, some of that stuff, whether it was true or not, some of it.
I couldn't tell you
some
if it was
of it,
true or not.
I have
read
no
good comics.
idea. Yeah, and I don't watch movies, so I really if I sat here, if we decided to like, hey, what are your? It would take me forever to tell you all the movies I haven't
Lord, don't
seen.
ask me that.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you what my favorite
that's
movie
what
is from DC.
They actually have asked me. Like that was in the aficionados. One time, I'm like, I think DC wise, I've seen like 2 in the past 20 years. Like, I really don't like.
I feel like Dark Knight's just the too easy answer. That's the one everybody chooses. So I don't know. I got to think about it.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that if I ever watch it. Like people would be like go nuts, and I remember seeing there was a review for a podcast. I forget which podcast because I always look at all the podcast reviews. I'm insane. So I end up where in this, I guess a guy on the show, they're talking comics. It was a comic book thing. Said that they hadn't seen the Aquaman movie, and I remember it was like a week after it came out, and the guy's like, "Oh, I haven't seen it yet." And somebody gave this podcast a 1-star review because, like, if you're a DC person, you have to watch the Aquaman. I'm like, well, they're doing comics, and that always makes me run scared. But I haven't even watched the whole Dark Knight. Yes, I did watch Batman Begins, and I actually like.
I do like
origin
Batman Begins
stories.
a lot.
Yeah, I like origin stories a lot, but I've seen a lot more of the Marvel movies than the DC stuff. But I haven't seen Aquaman. I have not
like
seen. I have seen actually Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 84, but I ended up where I was.
Wonder Woman 84 is the only movie I ever just walked out during. That wasn't theater; it was at home. I streamed it because it was during COVID or whatever.
Garb is going off to eat dinner. Eat some crow. Right. Garb is what I'm going to tell him with that Martian Manhunter nonsense. But yeah, I ended up.
Can I say something real quick with Brandon C?
Oh yeah.
Jim?
Yeah.
Sorry, you cut out for a second. I can hear you now. All right. Brandon C. I have met Tom King. He is a nice guy, but just I don't know what it is with his comics. He has a lot of issues he's working through, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
he's a nice guy.
He also got a editor fired, and
that is true too. Yeah,
he also tried to get a guy canceled. I guess it was like
I've met Mark Waid too. He's a nice guy, but not online.
Yeah, no, and the Flash movie. Oh, that's the thing. I did again. Some of the things I've watched, I've only watched because we're going to do shows on them, and I did actually watch the Flash movie. It was a wreck. Though I thought that I did like the Supergirl in it, but she's no longer Supergirl.
I think the Flash movie could have worked if they just did not have all the crap with Ezra Miller, all the $300 million budget crap. Like there was just way too much they tried to do with that, and I felt bad for Andy Muschietti because I do like their director, and I hope he does good with this new Batman movie.
Yeah, man. Machete. Mr.
It's the one supposed to be with Damien.
Yeah, so...
Machete.
Yeah, I heard...
He's going to machete it
I
up.
heard something online or something, if that's the same one, that they were like, that might be canceled or something. I forget what
No, that's the Batman Part 2 that's rumored. They're not canceling that.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Again, I haven't seen any of those, so I have no idea. If you meet Wade again, just wear a blank red hat. See, yeah, it would make a difference. He'd punch you in the face. Tom King actually... he did sign something for somebody that then sent to me as like, Jim, why do you hate me, you jerk, or something. He seems like a nice enough guy. I think that he's one of those guys that, first off, he's phony as hell, and I think that he ends up being a guy who is very sensitive and very he's very needy for like praise and things like that. It plays off, but again, I just don't like his writing. I don't know the guy, so whatever. But then some people again, Mark Waid. It's great though. Like here's the thing where you have, I guess, Jeremy Adams. You do know a little about him, and he's a good guy. He's like a family guy. Yeah. He's fun, but like Dan Waters. if Dan Waters came up and slapped me on the face in the street, I'd have no idea it's him. I don't know anything about him. I don't know what he does. I don't know, and I kind of like that. I don't need to get involved in the nonsense. Like with everybody, like with all these, like Mark Waid has to come out and do these grandstanding things and make these statements.
Yeah.
And he just in my mind, he's the guy who's like, well, I already have this thing, you know, I've made money, I've established this. What does it matter to me? But it matters to so many other people working on your things.
Yeah.
And then you get people not wanting to read your stuff, and it hurts other people, and he doesn't care. He only cares about himself. But again, I said some people don't read his stuff because they're making a stand, but we do a podcast. That's how we do it. So we end up going. And he says, do you think that Tom King's, did you like the Tom King Supergirl book? The movie
I
will
could
be
not
like
finish
that.
the first issue.
I thought it was complete and utter garbage. And we talked about it on the podcast. I hated it. And then we dropped it. I said, I've seen True Grit. I don't need to see it again or read it, and said, this is ridiculous. And again, I have a guy who is a huge Supergirl fan, and he always liked Tom King. And I warned him. I said, you wait. And the big thing that I say all the time is you end up where Tom King is great until he writes your favorite character, because then you realize he doesn't get the character. And I said to this guy, Ange, who's a huge Supergirl fan, and he's like, oh my God, this is going to be great. And I end up messing him, like, you better watch it because it's not going to be great. And he's like, no, I love Tom King. And then immediately after the first issue, it's like, tweeted out, this guy does not get Supergirl. He shouldn't be on the book. And then I said to him right away, his fans now are going to attack you and say that they know a character better than you after one issue that they've read of Tom King. They'll say they know her more than you do after 30 years of reading. And he's like, no, and they did right away. He started getting yelled at, and he was getting people just ripping him apart. You don't know Supergirl. It's the worst. And Joseph said, I like Mr. Miracle and was hoping I'd like Supergirl. Read it, and I was just bored the whole time. Didn't like any of the characters or how Carol was written. I did not like Mr. Miracle. And I ended up getting a lot of crap when I did the reviews. But the idea that it starts with Mr. Miracle trying to off himself, self-delete or whatever you have to say here. I thought that was like one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life. And that's how he gets emotions, by doing that. But if you do end up, Joseph, if you ever had the chance, I don't even know if I can put it in the chat here, but when issue number 6 came out of Mr. Miracle, I ended up getting so angry. And I wrote in my review, and I have like 2 paragraphs of what I said. This is how this is going to end. And went boom, 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 boom. And I was 100% right. And I said, it's going to be an ambiguous ending where he ends up taking down Darkseid with his daddy issues. And then he's going to have to decide, do I stay with this life or do I go back and go? And he just gives up at the end. And it was changed at the end. There was a bit where Mitch Garage did talk to somebody at a convention and told them, like, oh man, if you saw the original ending, boy, you guys wouldn't have liked it. And because it was really dark, and I think he was just going to leave everything. But what does it matter? But the idea, if you remember back at the point, you ended up having the failed no marriage. You ended up having, and these were coming out. So you have Batman 50, no marriage to Catwoman. People lost their minds, right? Oh my God, this is a crazy, oh my God. And then suddenly, Mr. Miracle, after not having, got delayed for like 2 months to get to the last 2 issues, because they definitely redid those issues because they were going to just tear that down as well and not give people what they wanted. So they did a stupid ending at the end. And Strange Adventures was terrible. Strange Adventures, what he did with Mr. Terrific, where Mr. Terrific says, I'm kind of glad that my wife and unborn baby died. I didn't want that responsibility. I'm like, what are you doing? But,
I'm just... Sorry, I was just going to add, when I met Tom King, it was the week after the issue 50 where they revealed the no marriage. And I can tell you now, maybe it was too soon, but he did not have a bodyguard. DC did not give that guy a bodyguard.
The thing is, the bodyguard that he had at the big convention, not a bodyguard. It was a convention guy who runs conventions in Canada that's a friend with Tom King. And when he did this, and I didn't even think of it at the time, when you ended up where he ended, oh my God, I have these threats. They asked Jim Lee at one point. Jim Lee's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like it's one of those, when you're gonna do these things, you got to fill in some people what you're doing. But it's the idea of the whole thing, like, oh, he went to that convention, and again, there were probably people who did. I'm not saying he probably did get death threats because people get crazy,
but he overreacted.
You shouldn't do this. But what he did was, he went there with that guy, that big dude that was this convention guy, and they used it as like a TikTok. They were taking pictures and, hey, here we are in the elevator, and they were just goofing off in the deal. You weren't really taking it seriously of the idea of this being a big thing, but yeah. Now at that point, Jim Lee, I love the idea. I did say when they released they had the thing for Hush too, and they ended up having the deal. And when they announced it, I said, "Oh, okay. So what's this going to come? What is it? Issue 1 come out in 2060?" And a couple people, like big DC people, actually favored it. I laughed. I'm like, they know what I'm talking about. The best was at one point, I did get mad at Bendis, and I said something about Bendis, like, this is ridiculous. Why did Bendis take over both Superman and Action Comics and whatever? And Tomasi and Jurgens both favored it and retweeted it because they were pissed.
Yeah, I talked to Tomasi about it, and he didn't tell me. He's like, let's just say that book was supposed to last longer. That's what he told me. So yeah, Bendis came in. Now maybe not demanded they kick him off it, but Bendis was like, I want Superman in Action. Editorial was like, deal. They did not give a shit about Tomasi. They were like, bye bye, sucker.
And Jurgens, they both got kicked off the books, so he could do that, and Bendis sucked. He sucked. So yeah, Jim. It's funny. I think Jim Lee actually invented a time machine so he could actually get something still delayed. I'm waiting for this. If it doesn't get,
you know how it's set up, right? This Hush 2.
What's that?
Once we get to like issue 6 or whatever number it would be in like 160, where it's going to take that pause. We're going to go to Matt Fraction's Batman, and then a year later we're going to get the other 6, and it's going to be its own thing. I think that's the stupidest way to do this thing.
I just thought it was 6, and I don't think
people it's 12. They confirmed it's 12.
I don't even think people are really that into it anyway. But the first issue, it did end up selling a lot, but there was not much to it. I got to talk about it tomorrow. I did read it, and it was okay. Though again, it's Jason Todd fighting Batman, and I'm sick of that. And the idea, I did see people.
Yeah, I kind of rolled my eyes during it.
Yeah, it's like the same thing over and over, and that Bendis had some really good.
What is
stuff.
going on with Riddler in that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, but yeah, let's talk about Bendis real quick. Yeah, he did do good at Marvel. Yeah. Well, at least at the beginning.
Yeah, I remember when he did that Civil War 2, it was like the biggest piece of garbage, and we were trying to review some of it. But Hush, it wasn't that great. It ends up where you're just like, who's Hush? Who's Hush? Oh, it's Tommy Elliott. Okay, sayonara. It was the art that was really good, and there was a lot of guest stars. So, absolute Riddler. Does look like he would be.
That's what I joked in the Slack chat. I said it looks like absolute Riddler.
Yeah, and Joseph Wolf said the second issue of Hush was way worse. I agree. It wasn't that great. But yeah, I have to do that. 90s Fate. I actually like that Ankh on the eye and stuff. Pretty cool. But yeah, I end up tomorrow, I guess. Well, I don't know when me and you are going to do Justice League. I have no idea because I still have to read it. Now I'm getting tired, so I have no idea if we're doing it. I don't know. It's a big book, and we're doing the...
Yeah, well, I'd say it's part 2 of the We Are Yesterday thing.
So I might have to, after we're done here, I might have to read it, and then we'll get on if you still are available.
Oh, yeah, I'm available.
Because then... tomorrow I have to do the Last Days of Lex Luthor and the Batmans. That Fate was weird for your Monarch. That was a weird character. Eric liked that character. Absolute diddler. That is Eric, I would say. I'll just throw him under the bus since he's not here. I don't know what the hell he's... I don't even know. I wonder if he's even reading the books anymore. I would wonder. He said that at one point. We were just talking randomly at points, and I said, if I end up quitting, I ain't reading another book in my life. I'm done. And he's like, I'll keep reading. So maybe he does. Maybe he still.
Maybe he does. Maybe he secretly still listens. Maybe he's here in the chat right now. Maybe he's one of y'all.
He's not doing that. I know that he won't listen. He never listened to shit. And he's not doing that. Amazing Spider-Man was awful. I still think One World Under Doom number 3, I guess it was the worst book of the week. That was.
Did you read Predator versus Spider-Man?
It was okay.
I thought it was okay too.
It wasn't that great.
I didn't think it was that great
I thought
either.
that it was weird that they're playing a mystery and we know it's the Predator. So I'm like, come on, let's see the Predator. And then he's got a skin suit. Like, what is he doing?
Did you see where Ben Percy was talking about that on Twitter or X or whatever you call it now, where it's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be like a serial killer Leatherface kind of Predator, and I'm like, but why though?
Predator doesn't really do that. So that's
Well,
really weird.
in some comics they have, but not like this.
I
This
don't
is
think-
way too
I've
human.
I've
serial
never
killer.
seen him trying to put a human face on himself.
No, that's too much ripping off Leatherface and Texas
yeah,
Chainsaw
that
Massacre.
just seems stupid. But
I
Batman-
didn't love it.
It's a Batman
I didn't love the art either.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's
go on in.
okay. It's a Batman shooting Jason in the face was awful. It's way worse than this new.
Well, I was gonna say,
ASM.
what is wrong with Jason's helmet? It only takes one shot. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, this is supposed to protect you from dying,
Yeah,
and it only
breaks
can
it.
take one bullet.
Yeah, well, it's Batman.
Well, now maybe because it was Red Hood's gun, armor piercing, I guess, but still, like, come
Yeah.
on, my guy.
Oh, I said I think that the play with the Spider-Man and the Predator is that Predator is going to end up and he thinks he looks like Mary Jane, and then Peter's not going to know the difference, and they're going to have the family, and that's where you'll get Mary Jane and the family. It'll be the Predator in a skin suit. I was laughing. We were talking about that. Matt Fisher said, Hush 2, 3 reasons it sucks. We've now had 20 years of Lee's Batman. If Hush had been gone for 20 years, it'd have more impact. Finally, these cliffhangers suck compared to Volume 1. It isn't very good. But I still think it's better than ASM. That Amazing Spider-Man was garbage. The idea
I have not read Amazing Spider-Man
the
in
big
years.
play of the ideas. Oh man, who's this entity that? Oh, Itsy Bitsy. There's two people, or everybody else is like, who? Itsy Bitsy, and it's a Joe Kelly character, and half of it he's two Kia jokes. He ends up where he's in this. He's being. He's drugged out. He's fighting things in his mind, whatever. Then I don't know how he has a job. He ends up where he's there and he's spaced out. Then this lady's like, whatever. Then this best friend of his from middle school is like, I like the mushrooms. I'm a mushroom scientist and I'm going to get the mushroom kingdom, but it's magic mushrooms, but you can't have any. I'm like, get the hell out of here. But that One World Under Doom is awful. It's so bad. And Javier is saying it in that Doom has assumed. First off, the idea that he has gone, and they say it in this, they reveal that he used the Sorcerer Supreme magic to then go to every world leader and say, if I give you what you want, can I be world leader? Can I be that doesn't happen. That's not how these things work.
How come none of them
anyway.
asked to be world leader?
But yeah, even then, you can't just have like a guy just say, yeah, you could be world leader. And even if they agree, it makes no sense. But the idea where the heroes in this story are the worst, you have the Fantastic Four go and attack Doom, and they bust in, I said, like the Kool-Aid Man, they bust in the UN and start beating up Doom. You can't do that. You got to figure out things. Then the Avengers go, all right, we're going to go and try to kill Doom in the craziest way. But in the meantime, we're going to send our mind readers to go to the world leaders to see if Doom duped them. Did he mind control them? Now, here's the thing. You do that first. You see if he's on the up and up first. Then you go attack him. They're in the middle of attacking him. And then they get word, he didn't dupe him. He's on the up and up. And oh, shit. And they're fighting him.
Crap.
And so it
We
ends
just attacked
up.
a world leader. Fuck.
And I'd like to hear, like, when people talk about what the book is, and it's so convoluted in 3 issues, because, again, I hate to get political, but that book is trying to. But at one point, you're like, okay, Doom's Trump. You know, that's going to piss off half the people. Then the next issue, like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel like that anyway. I don't get it. Then you kind of go back to that. Then you don't. And I do have, it's a hot take political theory that would probably piss a lot of people off. And again, I'll say this in the way of, I'm not going to tell you if I agree, disagree, whatever my politics are. That doesn't have anything to do with me reading and reviewing comics. But just think of the idea. Doom has pretty much won a world leader election. They have elected him world leader, right? So that he's there doing his things, and they're like, oh, man. But you had the Fantastic Four say, no way. He couldn't have been that. That has to be, wrong. That's a dupe. So then they do something. Then the Avengers are going, man, this is ridiculous. He can't be world leader. This has to be wrong. So we're going to attack him. And lo and behold, in my mind, Ryan North has made the heroes the people who they're insurrectionists. They are saying, we're not going with the election results. We're going to now attack. And what the hell here? Like, even if you're whatever your political view, like, why is that going on here? they end up being the people who are saying the election it wasn't real. And they're going, and I'm like, that's the Avengers, and that's this, and that's that. And they seem stupid in doing it. So is he playing that? And I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to do. And so when you end up where you have it, usually in a story, like, tell me you haven't heard this story. Say Doom. Even if whatever, a villain, the villain ends up doing something, and he's tricking the good guys, right? So what he does is he lays these things out to try to, and the heroes take the bait and look awful. So it's like, oh man, like one of the things that has happened in the past is you'll end up having a robot army attack, and then they start fighting them, and oh no, they weren't robots. They were actually people in mecha suits, and now you killed them. Like you set them up. Yeah. Doom doesn't even have to set them up. He's just sitting there.
They walk into it themselves. They open the door.
They're dummies. But yeah, and they just, it's weird. It's really
Jim,
weird.
You asked me if I've ever seen a story like that. Wait till you read Just League Unlimited this week.
Yeah, there's
something similar to it. It's not exactly like that, but it's similar.
But that's usually the story. And then Ryan North's like, I'm going to change this. I'm just going to make the heroes just stupid. And stupid in a violent way. And just, I don't know.
Well, he's writing crypto for DC soon, so
but that's more of his style. I just don't get it. And Matt said the lady puts the plasma blaster and lotion in the basket. He says, okay, but yeah, I don't know. There were some really good books this week, but there was some really bad books. And like I said, that One World Under Doom, it ends up wanting to be political, but it's like all over the place. And here's the thing: it's like, when you do something political, usually like that, how they do it now from the headlines, you're going to piss half the people off, right? Yeah, Instead, Ryan North is just pissing everybody off because the story sucks. That's what it seems. It's like, really? And Fearmonic said he was fine on Adventure Time. He's more of two things that Ryan North is good at. He actually is good at, and I'll tell you, the Squirrel Girl book that a lot of people make fun of, I thought it was kind of fun and an all ages type deal. He's good at two things. He's good at the what's it called, all ages books, and he also was a computer programmer that came up with this crazy like kid book program that helps people like do things with kids books and things like that. So yeah, that's one of his main things. And the idea where I love Ryan North is almost like the hive mind of Lansing and Kelly, or when people bring up things when they're like, man, why are you so harsh on this Ryan North, man? He just got started. It's like, he just got started. This guy's been going on forever. People even said that about Cy Spurrier at one point. I'm like, the guy's been writing comics for 20 years.
I was just talking about that in Slack chat the other week, where it's like I saw people talking about Lance and Kelly. They're the hot new names. I'm like, hot new names? They've been here since DCYOU. Like, what are you talking about? 10 years.
I lost my mind when their issues of the Batman and Robin Eternal back in the day, and that was one of the things that it was a thing where they used the shark repellent, and I ended up saying that was just that's the thing that people use when they don't know anything. They just throw it out, and it was so stupid.
Zdarsky.
Yeah, it was really bad. And actually, being serious, Matt Fisher says the only way One World Under Doom ends is Doom reigns resigns. Yeah, and I think that and Matt, I'll ask you. Is it not going to be almost like what's happening maybe with Lex in a weird way, but it will be Doom saying, listen, the world could have been perfect. I had the solution to all your problems, but you couldn't accept me. But
these heroes decided to treat me like an asshole.
Yeah, you couldn't accept me. And there's where I think the story I've been saying on my reviews when we do it on the podcast. I think the story isn't the idea of it's this politician or it's that politician. I think that what it is Ryan North, a Canadian, is looking down on Americans saying, you assholes, Democrats and Republicans, you can't ever agree. And when if somebody who's Republican comes up with the greatest idea of all time, Democrats will never go with it because it's and if a Democrat comes up with something, the Republicans won't go, and they fight about this inane stuff, and they get petty, and it's this big fighting, and lo and behold, the whole world suffers, and that's what I think it is. I think that what they are doing, or what Ryan North is saying, is the way that politics go, it's the people who are the problem, not the politicians. You're the people who fight. You're the people who make it petty and all that. And I think that's what the heroes are. I think you've even seen some of these people talking, but lo and behold, the Fantastic Four, they're flying to the UN to beat up Doom while he's giving a world speech at the UN. And when they're going there, Reed says, Doom's making Doom schools. Everybody has to go to the Doom schools. And you end up, Ben Thing says, there's no way I'm sending the twins to these Doom schools. That's bullshit. And then Reed goes, oh, no, I looked into them. They're on the up and up. They're great. Best schools I've ever seen. Now let's fight them. And then, like, what is happening? Yeah, and says that commentary would be better than most, though it's done really bad in this. And I do think that it is done really bad. And I think that in this, I think that the heroes being like really, like they really just like they're not thinking of the world. They're thinking of themselves. They're thinking, and again, these are
Doom can't be trusted.
Idea,
Look at all the bad things Doom's done.
And
it's just like, well, you always talk about second chances, but apparently
they
not.
They can't look past the idea, and it's the idea of Doom again, where I think it's the political thing is the idea of, oh, that might be good, but that must be a backdoor to that, or that might be good, but they're going to try to force us into that. And both parties have, their trigger things and what they think the other parties are. But in the most part of it, people, including people online, people like, even if we started really going in, you're going to argue, but you're never arguing about like, you're not sitting down and logically discussing policies with each other and saying, you know what, that policy's pretty good if we go that. And we've lost that bipartisan deal in any sort of American politics. It's all that people won't,
just screaming and yelling and hating
because
each other.
If a Democrat likes it, or vice versa, you end up being targeted. Oh, look at him. It's the worst. And I hate all this shit. I'm telling you, I
hate it so much.
I do watch a lot of political things because of it's what's going on, but I don't really like it. I don't like when I'm done with that. I like to just read things. And I said there's always, and I say to a lot of people too, where the big play, and I'll give everybody credit unless I didn't see it in there. When this sort of thing comes up, and if I went on Reddit or I went on Twitter right now and I said, oh man, this politics and this one world doom suck. I hate it. I just want to get it. And there'll be somebody, lo and behold, it'll be the first thing. There's always been politics in comics. That's the catchphrase. There's always been politics in comics. And I've come to the realization, what I go back with them then is like, that's true, but it's not, that doesn't make it good. They're not all good. There's been some really good political stories. The first Civil War was great. But a lot of these stories suck. So it's not a be-all, end-all of you saying to me, oh, because there's politics, it's great, because it's not. And I think that when I need comic book politics. Yes. I don't need of the time real life politics. I like the idea. I like the idea that the X-Men could be looked at as a fill-in for some groups that are, put under the thumb or not accepted or whatever. But I don't need it to be right in my face and point it out. I like that it's ambiguous so everybody can get involved. But politics in comics that I like, I always bring it up. Wakanda being isolationist, that's a political stance by them. But it's in the comic. That's what it is. I like that. I don't mind that. I like when you have, Fisk running for mayor of New York.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up. To me, that works.
Yeah, and you wonder, like, man, why would they vote for me? You play with that, and you go with that stuff and whatnot. But when you start using, oh, this is an amalgam for a current president. Or
this is an allegory. Yeah, that's the
I don't
stuff
need that shit.
No.
Yeah, it just gets too on the nose, and then it just pisses people off. And I just want to go and slap some people sometimes because books or comics are already having problems. You don't need to add to it in this. And
you don't need to alienate your audience or part of it. Anyway.
Yeah, and again, whether or not, and I say 50-50, but it usually is just about that. There's that little tweak up and down for this, but you're going to piss off a lot of people wherever way you go. And it feels like what they're doing, again, it feels like they are... Like what Ryan North is, it feels like he's doing the same thing he's against. He's making things petty, and he wants to piss people off. And
he's making fun of us for our problems, but then he's just using it as a thing to make his comic whatever. And it's just like, really?
And the books try to be deep and profound, but fail. That's, again, one of the things. And then says, meanwhile, Superman clone Lex get his head blown off, and it was awesome. And I fought with so many people this week about the idea that I'm like, good for Lex. Get that dirty clone. I'm telling you, me and Eric had talked about this idea, and that Cyborg book by Morgan Hampton about what you do with clones or AI. And I'm like, it's AI, like especially AI. I'm like, remember I said in the thing where you just pull the plug. Like, get the power out. And he's like, that's
So I
murder.
take it you don't like Ben
Yeah,
Riley.
yeah, and he's like, that's murder. I'm like, that's an AI. I'm saying AI is, there's no
Okay,
thing.
I thought you were talking
But
about
again,
clone. Okay,
if
yeah,
clones, and again, I don't have any problems with what Lex did at all. And then even then, when you have, and Lena's like, Dad, I'm like, is she yelling Dad to that black suited freak or Dad? And the idea, again, I keep saying, I argued with Wes on our show that we do. What was the other plan? Here's the thing, and you end up laying ask, how was Superman 25? I liked it a lot. It's just there were things that were like Marilyn Moonlight shows up for Noah, actually shows up to give a lift to Lex to get into the battle. Does nothing else. Goes there and says, oh, it's morning, and leaves. But there's some weird things. One of the things is that's a little nitpick, but usually when Lex does his Bizarro stuff, is he doesn't do the backwards talking Bizarro. He doesn't do Bizarro Planet Bizarros. He does that clone Bizarros that are really slow. That they just, me and Bizarro, we do that. But you want to get that play, and at one point you do see him say, I thought they were going to go more into it as it went, but he did say something reverse and gets all mad. But the thing I want to say, and obviously Brandon has read it and said the idea of blowing him up. I think in this idea, and this is what I keep saying to Wes when we were arguing with other people, what would you do with that clone if you don't kill it? Because
I don't know.
I keep saying, are you going to end up, is it going to be on work release? You going to house arrest that? The only thing that you could do is throw it in the Phantom Zone, which you don't like to do now. And even if you did, what is that? Does that make it better? Like the idea that Superman doesn't kill, I get it, and he'd be upset about it. But Superman, he did nothing and was all out of ideas. He had nothing. And so that combined with the idea that when Lex put Doomsday and the Radiant in that bottle and said that time has stopped pretty much in there, now we can figure out what's going on. And Superman flipped out. How dare you do this? I'm like, what is he talking about? And that's the progression. This is the progression of where Lex eventually says, screw all of you. You think I'm bad? I'll be bad. You think this is bad? Because this is me being good. I'm going to be bad now, and people will love it. I actually like a little of good Lex. I like a little bit better than, say, like a Norman Osborn trying to rehabilitate. That doesn't work very well. But, yeah, that's the thing, Lane. You have this 25, it's an anniversary milestone. And I laugh because nowadays, if it was at Marvel, it definitely would be a milestone getting to 25. Most of these things, especially if it was Alyssa Wong, those things get to 10. But the idea, the cover has Jimmy and Silver Banshee. They're not in it. And then you have, again, Perry White wins. I'm like, well, are we going to deal with that again? That wasn't in it. And I was like, well, that cover was really odd. It was more of just this deal. And and Jabers said Last Days of Lex Luthor was better. I have to read that for tomorrow. I'm reviewing that tomorrow. We're going to have a long podcast. And
that's good.
We got a mail, and the mail ended up saying that that the guy suggested that I do the intro, the news, the mail, and the outro randomly throughout. Like 1 week it's Simon, 1 week it's you, 1 week it's Gray. And I'm like, that's a pretty good idea. So me and Simon did it, which added about an hour to the podcast. That's the problem. We're talking about nonsense at the end. And me and Gray did the mail where there was 2 mails, and that took us like 40 minutes. So it's going to be long. There was a Brave and the Bold 60, I believe, is the retro book this week, and it's the first named appearance of the Teen Titans with Wonder Girl as well. And me and Stork talk about that for over an hour because it is ridiculously Silver Age nonsense. Oh, it's hilarious. There are so many things in that book. You end up where this town says, it's one of those like classic weird things like, hey, teens rule the town for the day. But in this thing, legit, they can write laws and shit like that. And these kids are manning like the power plant. Like they're doing all the work. I'm like, this is messed up. Matt says, difference is Lex had a master plan to bend Clark to his own ways. Doom, I guess, just gave people free stuff. Lex's plan was always rooted in deceit. Doom just wanted to rule. I will also say, Matt, that wasn't the original plan. I think Joshua Williamson was going to make Lex good, and he changed it. Then this idea of at this point saying, "Oh, by the way, what it feels like," and it's something I hated, was after that stupid Batman 50 with, "Oh no, Bane had a plan all along," and then you see that I'm like, bullshit.
This was the same guy who's like, "Oh, who's Bane?" at that one time.
Yeah,
he didn't even know who Bane was. It's like, what?
Let that
unless he was lying.
Yeah, he had an interview on a podcast where when he started doing the Batman deal, and they're like, "Oh man, like you have Bane," and he's like, "Yeah, when I first started, I didn't know who Bane was. He had no idea." And then there he goes. He's what a guy. What a guy. But yeah, and says Marvel getting to issue 12. It is. Marvel, almost everything now ends at 10. And I only think they do that out of spite because everything was ending at 5. Or like our Joe Garrison, the Punisher book, ended at 4. And remember, and then David Pepos was like, no, it was always going to end at 4. I'm like, no book ends at 4. I'm
no,
like,
not a Marvel. No.
And again, I don't like the guy. I like at one point he did kind of yell at me and said that I'm too harsh with my scores. And then I realized, wait a minute, I remember this guy. He actually did reviews for Newsarama and was handing out 1s and 2s. So I told him he was bullshit. But also Kelly Thompson, whatever it was, an issue. I think it was Mr. Miracle or maybe a Catwoman, something like that. I went back to look at reviews, and in the reviews, it was me, David Pepos, and Kelly Thompson. I'm like, well, 2 of them went on to better things. Here I am still doing this bullshit. But yeah, it was kind of funny. I was the lowest of them in that one, though, I do believe. And then Fearmark said that Neil before Zod. Yeah, that was a bomb. You could tell right away. That
I read it. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, it was weird, and even
I didn't love it. I don't think the art helped at all. But...
Also, at the end of Superman, you do see like Lois has lost her powers, and everybody I saw were like going crazy. But it did look like it was that Jeff Johns, that New 52 Jeff Johns power, that supernova, super flare. That when you do use it, because she freaked out when evil Lex said, "I'm gonna go and kill John," and she freaked out and went supernova, and that was that power. Looked like the power that Jeff Johns introduced at the end of the New 52 when him and John Romita Jr. were on. That it saps the power out of it was Superman at the point for like a day or so or a week, and then she'll probably get her powers back just in time for Zod to come and yell for them back. So that's what I think is happening there.
Well, now, so I'm a little confused. I thought she got the powers from Zod.
Well, she did, but she ended up supernovaing, and it ends up where it will deplete the powers out. See, she didn't lose the power.
I got you now.
It's just,
right. Okay,
like
I got you.
It's an empty battery.
Superman she's run on empty. I got you now. Okay.
Superman, and he liked it at the one point because he could eat things and he tasted them like a human. It was.
Yeah, I remember that crap.
Him and Jimmy oh my God. Him and Jimmy were eating hoagies and stuff like that. But no, Zod is coming.
He had a chopper.
So I have a feeling the play is going to be that Joshua Williamson will lay low with it. You'll have Zod come. Somehow Zod will still be able to tell that Lois had about something, and he'll go and fight her, but he'll kill her if he goes to fight her, and eventually, like, boom, she'll have the powers back, and then they'll fight. Superman Meshi was like one of the best Superman books ever. I didn't finish it or kept reading it. Me and Luke were reading and reviewing it. It was so good. It was so funny.
I like it.
Yeah, Superman losing his eye. That'll be fantastic. He just has to. All he has to do is fly into the sun. He gets it back, just like Supergirl got her heart back after she was a Red Lantern.
How many times do we get heroes just losing body parts and they just get it back within a year?
No,
or two?
the best.
Zdarsky, Batman lost his hand. Freaking Joker got his eye shot out, but it's just like, a glass eye. You never know the difference.
The best is when Deathstroke, he went into the Lazarus pit. He didn't get his eye back. Why wouldn't he give his eye back? So weird. But yeah, Superman versus Meshi was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, it's just his look. But yeah, Superman versus Meshi was great. I love that book.
Yeah, I did really like that.
Yeah, but I think that we're gonna call it a night. We're not gonna go 4.5 hours this week because we have to go and review. We have to go review the Justice.
That's because I'm not Gray, isn't it?
Yeah, no, Gray didn't stick for that. Gray left.
Really? Okay.
Gray went to go do karate. And then I ended up talking, and then I got a hold of him later and said, hey, he was eating lunch then. I said, you want to come back to end it? And he didn't believe I was even doing it still. Yeah, Joker with his face. I actually like that play.
I like that a lot. To me, that was really cool.
Yeah, it was cool. But yeah, I got to go read Justice League. We're going to review it for the show. I'll probably have the
Ooh.
show on the YouTube here probably Sunday or Monday. It's going to be a long one. Like I said, I believe it'll be like 7 hours. Maybe. We'll see. I
Jeez.
say that at points, but then when I go to edit it, things aren't as long. But I know that we have like 4 sections already that are way over an hour each. So we'll have a lot going on. So there you go. We have a lot of books. We actually added Green Lantern Dark, something that I wasn't reading.
Really?
We got that. It's not great, but me and Brad talk about that. And Brad is going to join me to do one Catwoman the next time that comes out. And lo and behold, Gray did a solo review of Flash this week, and I'm gonna try
Really?
I'm gonna try to catch up and jump back on that with him the next time it comes out. But I don't.
Good
really
luck.
Like
they're
it.
they're in the middle of an event right now. I don't know if you know that they're in the middle of an event.
It just started. The event started this issue,
Yeah.
so Gray ended up
Okay,
reviewing it, and yeah, Green Lantern Dark. I ended up where I saw Geek Dad do a review, and I always mention Geek Dad. I read all the reviews on Comic Roundup all the time, and Geek Dad has like, man, the art's great. It's one of the best, horror artists out there. I'm reading this book, and I'm like, this art is terrible. I couldn't even see what was going on. I know that they do like something's happening with the children. It's the artist from that, which it might fit that book okay. It just, oh my goodness, yeah, it's a weird
Vasco
book.
Georgiev?
No, it's somebody else that when we were doing it, Brad looked it up and said he was maybe a fill-in artist on that. Then I don't know.
Well, I know because I'm looking at the solicitation of it right now. I know Vasco Georgiev. I don't think he did anything for Something's Killing the Children.
Man, that's
but
what that guy. That's what he said. He looked it up and he was listed as. So I have no idea.
maybe he did some fill-in work on it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not great. It is. It's not good. But yeah. Let me see. I don't even know who.
I'm looking through his stuff right now. I don't see anything about that, but maybe
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
what he
mistaken.
said. That's what he said. That was like the whole deal of the what's it called? So I'll have to look what it would be.
No, he did a cover for them, like a variant
Yeah,
cover.
well, maybe that's what he saw then. Yeah.
Yeah,
Geek Dad said he's like the #1 horror artist or something.
No, that's bullshit. I'm sorry, but that's
maybe
bullshit.
he did like some old book or something. I actually was like, what did he do? Like the 30 Days a Night or some crap like that. But
No.
I don't know what it was. But yeah, so I have no idea. But that's what he said, and so I read it, and it was not great. It was not great at all. But yeah, that Brandon says there was a guy. I did mention that on the show me and Wes were doing. I was like, oh, look at this guy. He said about the X-Men. No. And I said it was so great because it was no with a period. It wasn't even an exclamation. Like, he couldn't even get that excited to put an exclamation point. It's no period. I'm like, that's pretty good. I like that. Yeah, there was one. Speaking of reviews, there was a review because I got so mad. We talked about that Mr. Miracle. We got so mad because I got so mad that people were like saying these. It almost plays out. I'm telling you, people. This is how the reviews are going with this Martian Manhunter. They remind me so much of Mr. Miracle, where you're just sitting there and like, I don't know what the hell's going on in this, and people are still giving it 10s and going on and on. I said, it's gonna be revealed to be nothing, but I ended up doing a review that it was I had pictures upside down. I had a picture of my son Logan. I took a picture of his eye, and then made it really big on there. And then I was writing sentences, but then mixed them up, then put things backwards, then put things. So, and I said, there you go, people. There's the review. Just like that book. It's bullshit. Nothing's got, and the people were so mad at me. So I had to change it. People were like, oh, they were so mad. So I did it. I think Eric made me change it then, because I was just going on and on about stuff and like waxing poetic about things and making up phrases. And it was pretty good. Yeah. There's #1 horror artist is Junji Ito. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not an art guy, but yeah, that's the deal. But yeah, so we'll get going. I got to go read that because I'm already tired. I got up early to talk to Gray. When I have to, the days I have to talk to Gray because he's in Japan, I have to get up early 6:30 so that we can do it, and I get tired. I'm an old man, but I'm also going to get something to drink. So with that, thanks, everybody. We're also going to be coming back. We'll have the comic book with Sully talk. Sully had a bad week. He said he was in a bad mood, so we'll see what's going on. But he wasn't able to join me last week because of Easter, but he's going to be coming. And we'll be doing that on Sunday. I think we're just going to talk things in general. Then Sunday night, I'll have the best of, and that's at 7. The Sully show will be at 11. And then Monday at 9, p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll have the preview show. So that is it. And he says, it's a nice, fun, wholesome story that won't keep you up for nights. I will tell you, Fear Monarch, do not read Nice Prison, the new manga in the Shonen Jump magazine. It's on the app. It is, it's bad. It's a gag manga, but it's not good. Me and Luke we did our review of it. I have 2 Manga Monday shows I have to put up. So we did that Martial one a while back. I have to edit that, and then we did this new one that's Nice Prison. So odd. Such a weird gag manga, but that's that. So thanks, everybody. Thank you so much, Matt, for the super chats. Everybody joining in and having some fun. I'm sorry that this isn't 4.5 hours. We'll get back to that at some point. I do think that at one point I'm just going to set up where we'll figure out what we're doing. Maybe we'll just have a live like DC show. It would take a lot of coordinating now. But I'd have you're waiting, and then I get done with Simon, then you jump on and have some things like that. That could end up lasting.
Yeah, just tag team.
That could.
You're the only one who stays on the entire time.
That could end up lasting forever because I'm sure that we would just keep going on, and then at the end have 80 people on. It'd be funny. But yeah, we could try that. Yeah, and that's Fear Monarch said it. I didn't know what he meant at first, but yeah, Sully needs his Jeff fix, the land shark. It's Jeff. He loves that it's Jeff. He loves that deal. Kelly Thompson deal. I actually like Jeff when he showed up. I also like Brodoc, the MODOK that was the bro that was made for kissing. I thought he was funny.
All right.
But, yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Just everybody in the GFC, everybody. We have everybody just yelling and screaming at one point. It'll be like a record.
We're arguing with Simon over absolute
The record
Martian
would be
Manhunter.
great. It's the record not of as many people. It's the record of how annoying it could be. Everybody just screaming at once. Yeah. Yes, Simon will give me shit, I'm sure. But that's it. That is it. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to end with now I get to pick another song. I don't know what song, though. I don't know what I could do. I did come out.
You want to do one of our songs for our shows?
Fuck that.
Do a little promotion.
I could do that. I don't know that it fits though. But it
don't fit.
The Gray song doesn't mention a deal. Is the only reason I use that.
All right, I got you.
But I could put a song that I throw shade at Eric. That's always fun.
Okay, yeah, do it.
I don't know what we're doing. We could do the year one deal. Because me and Zach do a year one podcast on the Patreon, if you're not aware. And there you go. Matt wants the Japanese song. That's what it always is.
Okay,
it's
yeah,
that
do
one.
it.
I play that every damn time, but we'll do it. I think I already have it queued up. I do. When did I play it? Before I guess I played...
You played it earlier. Wasn't that the song you opened with?
No, that was the Absolute song.
Maybe.
Oh no, we did end it. We already ended with it once. That's what I'm saying. We already did that. I could end with the Usagi Yojimbo K-pop song. That I could do that. That would be weird because that's just like the what's it called deal. Or I could just have an original. I could do that. I have a song.
I don't know. I mean,
I have a
dealer's
Batman,
choice.
I have a Batman Gotham by Gaslight song that sounds like Soundgarden. I could play that. That would be kind of funny. Yeah, it is. But Matt, I already played it. I played it when we went out the first time. I could always actually what I usually do with the things is I do that AI deal and then I put something else on top of that, like afterwards. So I could do that as long as it's not a double bass like the Spotlight intro. Brandon, that's full out. That was Eric. That was an Eric song. I put that as a joke because of people saying that they missed Eric's songs. I wanted them to be reminded of the skull kicking, the nonsense that he did. That was every song of his. But yeah, that was his. I was going to make a song, though. I do have an old school song for the retro book of the week but I don't even think I saved it yet. But he says something has to make sense. So we will go. Oh, he says, and that's what I'm saying, Brandon, I'm with you. Those songs are complete and utter nonsense. And Eric would get mad at my songs, and I'd say, I don't know. I think my songs have a little hook and a melody. Your songs are just it's like a freaking machine gun to the head. It's awful, but yeah, that was his thing. So you got
an old weird science theme available or anything? Just something. What do you got? Just give the options and we'll choose.
I'm gonna end up. How about a New Jeans type song? Because Matt gave a lot of super chats. So we're gonna continue. We're gonna do the Gray AI, and then while that's going on, I will find another song that I can play after that. That'll be maybe an original. Maybe something, it may even be something nonsense, but here we'll go with this first.
私はイギリスから日本に引っ越しました。感動して感謝しました。本当に大好きです。私は普通の男ではありません。私はもう本性の愛です。私にからかわないでください。そうしないとあなたは消えてしまいます。私は普通の男です。でも私はあなたを殺します。だからそのまま受け取ってください。足元に注意した方がいいよ。準備をしてください。フォローしないと大変なことになりますよ。私に伝わらない。私はあなたを殺します。私は日本の愛です。あなたは警告されました。
The only light is from a flickering candle.
The other song is loading at the moment.
Oh, man, Jim, come on.
It's not loading up. It's not loading.
Oh,
so it might
no.
be done. So I do have it. It's there, but it's just grayed out. It's not going. So it might be I'm just going to sit here. It might play. It may not, but it might be done. So I could just go out with the absolute song. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's just kind of sitting. It's not doing anything. So I think
Oh,
we're
no.
done. It's not even that long a song. So
Nonsense, Jim.
no,
Nonsense.
something messed up. So I could play some other thing that I have. I have a bunch of like crazy original girl songs that you could
Oh,
hear.
no.
They're crazy.
Sus Records?
Yeah, no, they're not that. There's
Oh,
a
okay.
different deal. But let me see if it went up. Yep, it's up. Here we go. We're gonna end with this. This is it was originally a Batman song. But then it didn't really end up being a Batman song. But we'll end with this and then we are out. So everybody, thanks, and we'll see you.
The only light is from a flickering candle. In the darkness are the monsters he can't handle. He always wins 'cause he's always prepared. But how can you fight what you don't know is there? The cobblestones mark the path to his demise. Below the street, something has to arise. The signal penetrates the darkness of the night. A war is brewing, and it's lit by gas light. But who's going to save us when we need saving from ourselves? Dreams are real when they are given life. Nightmares are dead when you see them in the light. How can you return when you never left? How do you live when all you think about is death? But who's going to save us when we need saving from ourselves? Don't need to gaslight. Make everything alright. Make it through the dark night. Don't need to gaslight. who was spared, but who's going to save us when we need saving from ourselves? Don't need to gaslight, make everything alright, make it through the dark night. Don't need to guess, but who's going to save us when we need saving from
Walk into the club and the bottles start popping. If I was here last year, you know I'd probably be mopping. You didn't care about me till I was 1 year older, but the hotter I got, you just kept getting colder. I hear you're talking shit, look who just got bolder. Just a year ago you paid rent on this shoulder. And I can only change what I can change. I'm about to fly, and you chose to disengage. I'm so high and I'm never gonna stumble. If you got beef, then I guess we gonna rumble. I'd rather be like Kendrick and try to stay humble, making so much bank and all you do is mumble. I ain't gonna be humble. 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 Girl said I look just like Justin, and I hope she meant Timberlake. Cause I'm gonna find my Britney and write hit songs about all the heartache. I don't need a caretaker, I'm gonna need an undertaker. And you'll have to be the pallbearer of the bad news. So why are you smiling? I'm so high and I'm never gonna stumble. If you got beef, then I guess we gonna rumble. I'd rather be like Kendrick and try to stay humble, making so much bank and all I do is mumble. I ain't gonna be humble. 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 And I can only change what I can change. I'm about to fly. Why do you want me to feel ashamed?